ABC News with Miriam McDonald. Good afternoon. 25 residents forced to evacuate their homes due to an out-of-control bushfire in Melbourne's outer east have been told they cannot yet return home by authorities. Joshua Allen reports.
A fire that began yesterday afternoon at the Dr Ken Laversha Reserve in Montrose flared up overnight, destroying one home and significantly damaging another. CFA Incident Controller Bernard Barbetti says more than 200 firefighters will continue work today to control the fire.
This area's got a lot of dead trees in it and they're quite large. It's quite hazardous for firefighters and also while we're keeping residents out of the area.
He says crews are concerned a wind change may complicate their attempts to control the blaze, but are hoping forecast rain will provide respite.
Resident and local business owner Sigrid Peterson has told ABC Radio Melbourne the fire looked like it was only a street away from her home.
I was really worried about our elderly neighbours and all the people that I know that are in a wheelchair or older or kids. So I was running around in my pyjamas just knocking on doors, waking people up like my partner did for me because our street was just full of smoke and there was embers flying around.
Meanwhile, Victorian authorities say a bushfire in the World Heritage Budge Bim National Park has been contained. They say the bushfire in the far southwest has burned through 2,200 hectares of land since being sparked by a lightning strike last week. Firefighters from the Country Fire Authority and Forest Fire Management Victoria will continue to patrol the area and put out hotspots. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says any contribution to a peacekeeping force in Ukraine would be small, following a virtual meeting with other world leaders overnight. Stephanie Dalzell has more from Parliament House.
Around 25 world leaders, including Anthony Albanese, were on the call hosted by UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Australia's vowed to stand by Ukraine for as long as it takes, and an offer to consider sending troops in the event a peacekeeping deal is achieved remains on the table.
It would be a small contribution.
Deputy Opposition Leader Susan Lee has reiterated the coalition remains opposed to sending troops.
When it comes to boots on the ground, this is a matter better handled by Europe.
Mr Albanese says the whole world needs to stand up against Russian aggression.
The death toll from violent storms and tornadoes that have ripped through central and southern parts of the United States is on the rise, with as many as 26 people killed. Ali Crew reports.
The number of fatalities increased after police in Kansas reported 8 deaths in a multi-car crash on a highway during a blinding dust storm. Dozens of tornadoes have touched down in several states, destroying scores of homes, businesses and even a school. Authorities say they're doing everything possible to help the victims, with a state of emergency declared in Arkansas and Georgia. Powerful winds have overturned trucks and fanned more than 100 large wildfires. Forecasters are warning of more dangerous storms for an area stretching from the Canadian border to Texas, which is home to more than 100 million people.
To sport, and Greater Western Sydney will look to continue its strong start to the AFL season when it takes on Melbourne this afternoon at the MCG. After beating Collingwood in the opening round, the Giants welcome back midfielder Tom Green in place of ruck Kieran Briggs. The Crows will unveil top draftee Sid Draper when it hosts St Kilda at Adelaide Oval. Gold Coast has also travelled west to take on the Eagles at Perth Stadium. Formula One fans have braved the wet weather, turning up to support Australia's Oscar Piastri at the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne. Alexia Pesce reports from Albert Park.
All eyes are on Oscar Piastri, but it's the Australian's teammate Lando Norris who stormed home to claim pole position for this afternoon's Grand Prix. Piastri finished in second to secure a McLaren front row lockout, with Red Bull's Max Verstappen third quickest. Fellow Aussie Jack Doohan will line up 14th for Alpine. Today's forecasted rain is set to provide plenty of entertainment on the track, and it certainly didn't stop fans from lining up before 5 o'clock this morning to secure the perfect spot. Yesterday welcomed more than 136,000 spectators through the gates, the highest attendance on record.
To the weather now, and there's a severe weather warning for damaging winds in parts of East Gippsland, the northeast and west and south Gippsland districts. For the state, patchy rain extending from the west with isolated thunderstorms possible in the south. Rain tending to scattered showers from the west as a cold front crosses the state. Severe thunderstorms possible in the north and east during the afternoon with heavy rain and damaging winds. Small hail possible. For Melbourne, cloudy, the very high chance of showers becoming less likely in the late afternoon and evening with a revised top today of 22 degrees. Tomorrow, a possible shower, 18. Tuesday, cloud clearing, 23. Sunny on Wednesday, 31. Thursday, mostly sunny and 28. Right now in Melbourne, it's 20 degrees. ABC News.
The Socceroos are back on ABC Sport as they try to book their place in the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
Right into the 6-yard box and puts it in. It's his second of the night, and it's a well-crafted goal by the Socceroos.
Catch all the action Thursday night on the ABC Listen app.
ABC Sport.
This is AFL Sunday with Matt Clinch and Cameron Ling. AFL Sunday on radio,
ABC Sport Digital Radio.
and take us with you on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
The first Sunday of the AFL season proper has delivered some big results and wide margins. Collingwood bounced back after a week in the headlines, questioning if they were too old. The Pies respond in emphatic style, turning the spotlight to Ken Hinkley's final season in a major power failure, going down by 91 points.
Schultz floats forward, takes the mark, hands it to Hill, sidestep, dances past Farrell, chips it to Membry, and he'll bang it in for 4. Exceptional teamwork.
A fast start and a strong finish saw the Western Bulldogs start the season on a positive note. Despite the threatening Kangaroos, the young dogs stood up and, despite a growing injury list, prevailed by 16 points.
Centre wing, it kicks up towards Kennedy. He's running away from Core. Good clean pick up from Matt Kennedy. Swings onto his left-hand side. Beautiful kick to Norton. He's had a couple of good moments, Matt Kennedy. Aaron Norton, who has a couple of goals next to his name, opens up the angle and puts through his third. And the Doggies are off the leash now. They're running away with it.
The Brisbane Lions begin their premiership defence with a win, coming from behind to pip the Sydney Swans in the grand final rematch by 4 points. The Swans winless for their first 2 games for the first time since 2019.
They've turned it over, Sydney. Oh no, Matt Roberts has kicked it straight to Josh Dunkley, dashing out of defence. This can cap off another monster game for Josh Dunkley. He doesn't waste the opportunity. Arms aloft, picked up by his teammates. Dunkley with composure.
Geelong gave the Dockers the heave-ho at the Cattery despite an electric third quarter from Murphy Reid on debut, who booted 4 goals to close the gap to 22 points. Jeremy Cameron starred with 4 as the Cats finished with a 10-goal-to-1 final term, leaving Fremantle with a miserable flight home.
Back to Stewart, runs to 50, kicks to full forward, and the mark is taken. Jezza in from the side, he clunks it. He's done it all today, Jeremy Cameron. Cameron pops it through, and these Cats land on their feet in 2025. 23-9, 147. They whack the Dockers 10-9, 69. A 78-point win.
The other winners for round 1, Hawthorn by 26 points over Essendon on Friday night, while Richmond fans are still basking in a 13-point win over the Blues back on Thursday night. Today, the round ahead, an early start in Adelaide as the Crows take on the Saints. Melbourne host the Giants from the MCG, and the West Coast Eagles under Andrew McWalter take on the Gold Coast Suns to bring down the curtain on the weekend in the West. I'm Matt Clinch for ABC Sport. I'm joined by Triple Premiership Captain, legend of Geelong, Cameron Ling. Welcome once more. Footy's back with all 18 teams. What a weekend we've had so far.
Brilliant, Clinchy. Great to be with you again. A quick one today for us, a shorter show, but we've still got lots to cover, so I'm sure we'll dive into a whole heap. But as you like to do to me, Clinchy, you love to hear what my highlight of the weekend has been so far. And I like the fact in your introduction there you gave Jeremy Cameron a nice little pump up, talked about the Cats knocking off Fremantle. Come on, mate, for the Cats fans out there, it was all about one man and that headband. Bailey Smith, the fans loved him, 32 disposals, 7 clearances, 5 tackles, a headband that I wouldn't necessarily have worn myself, but hey, when you're that good looking, you can get away with whatever you like. And 1 goal which brought the crowd to their feet.
Stengel roves neatly, kicks infield, spots up Bailey Smith, cluttered into by Wagner.
Here's his chance. Yes.
He's going to get the 50. Got the headband on. He's a Cat now. Bailey Smith slots his first goal in the hoops.
Bazball seemed to be more successful at Geelong than it certainly was for the England cricket side, and what a return for Bailey Smith returning from that ACL. For me, Lingy, you can't go past the events of Thursday night, really. I think for most Richmond fans, they rocked up thinking, well, hopefully we're half a chance. We want to see some spirit and some fight, the chance to challenge the Blues, and really it was the final term where they were able to run away from Carlton, and, well, Seth Campbell had us all to our feet.
Lawler's involved again. Hand pass to Ross. Time running out. He drives it to a vacant goal square. Long inside 50. It's bouncing. It's bouncing. The foot race is on. And Campbell might have softened it through. Game, set, match. And the somersault and a car wheel to sign it off. Good night, Tigers fans. We're winners in round one.
So sending Richmond fans back to those giddy heights in which they won their 3 premierships, and I guess the unexpected nature of it, and there's a bit to touch on with the Blues, but geez, we've had some results, haven't we?
We certainly have. I only wish I had the athleticism to be able to do that sort of celebration after a goal. It was sensational stuff. Yeah, the results, they've been intriguing, haven't they? I mean, what a win by Richmond. Hawthorn were clinical and efficient with the way they played. Collingwood just reminded everyone, hey, don't overreact to an opening round game. We're fine. We've got some good players running around. Nick Dacos is okay. He covers the ground all right. A little bit of cramp in opening round is nothing to panic about. The Bulldogs get the really professional win, Clinchy, given they're missing key players. To be able to still knock off North Melbourne and do the job is terrific. And what a win by the Brisbane Lions over the Swans. The Swans are still a very good football team. I know they're 0-2 right now, but the Lions just going bang and nailing that win, come from behind. Shows why they're the reigning premiers.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear your highlight of the weekend so far, or maybe it's still to come. 0437 774 774. AFL Sunday on ABC Sport with Matt Clinch and Cameron Ling. Now, our own new recruit, Ray Chamberlain, was doing a bit of roving reporting on Saturday. He got the chance to catch up with the Geelong legend, Patrick Dangerfield, and he had you in the crosshairs.
Oh, no.
Did you send Cameron Ling a best of luck message for his cricket final today?
No, is he playing for St Joseph's? Who's he playing for?
He'll be filthy that you're unaware. It's a big day for him, so I'll let you get a message out to him and make sure that you don't upset the mayor.
Cameron, good luck. You aren't the mayor anymore, though, mate.
Oh, there you go. From one captain to another.
Ooh, wow. No, that's fair by Danger as well. Yes, I was one on that. It was a stinking hot day. We're out at Shelford, beautiful little ground, country town of Shelford. I wasn't at the Cats Fremantle game. My wife and 2 of my kids were. I had my 3rd child was with me out at Shelford, and I was in the field. I was constantly yelling out to him, "Give me the score check. What's the score?" And he had me worried when Murphy Reid nailed those 4 goals in a row and 3/4 time close. But then we could relax a little bit. And good news, Clinchy, we did win our way through to the next week of finals. So the season continues, but it was hard not being at Kardinia Park yesterday to watch the first game of the Cats.
That footy season just keeps creaking a week or 2 earlier, just encroaching on the cricket season. But, yeah, good to hear you are into a final. Where do we want to start? Do you want to start with the Magpies and their win last night? I guess everyone was sort of writing them off after round 1. The question was as to whether they were too slow, too old. Dan Houston made his debut for the Magpies, and what a statement he made. 27 disposals going at 89% disposal efficiency. And after a relatively quiet opening round against the Giants for the Magpies forwards, Dan McStay, Brodie Myatek, Tim Membry all combined for a total of 10 goals. And still side bottom, the Collingwood midfielder joined the ABC Sport team after the game and tried to sum up where the turnaround had come.
Well, we talk a lot about connection just within ourselves, not even talking about the football, and we just felt that there were some things last week that were really, unlike us. Maybe we tried too hard at times last week. Everyone's so eager to get out there for round 0, and yeah, maybe we went too far, but yeah, I think we really just stripped it right back. It's funny because you put so much work in during the pre-season, and to cop up a performance last week was disappointing, but we just had a couple of basic focuses going in tonight, and I think it showed.
Still side bottom with the team last night. What was impressive for you, Lingy, for the good of Collingwood?
Yeah, and I don't like to argue with you too much, Clinchy, and push back on you, but in that build-up there, you did say everybody wrote Collingwood off. No, I think measured, intelligent people thought, hey, that's a one-off against a very good team in the Giants, and we're not going to go thinking that Nick Dacos was underdone or anything like that. They are a good team. And they just proved it. They showed it. They were superb in every facet of the game. Against another good team in Port Adelaide, I think Collingwood coming into the season are much better than Port Adelaide, but Port Adelaide is still dangerous when you can let them play. But we saw a Collingwood team that didn't dominate the contested possessions, but controlled the contested possessions, and then were highly efficient from there. You know, to end up with plus 17 in inside 50s, it means they won the contest well and they linked up really well. I think Steele mentioned the connection piece there. I felt that. The run through the middle of the ground was really shared. So, yes, Nick's the superstar. Nick's the one we talk about a lot, and he played really well. But I thought Josh was terrific. I thought Jack Crisp was really good. Dan Houston, you mentioned, half back and occasionally pushing up through the middle of the ground. I thought Lipinski was excellent as well. Steele side bottom. He's still got plenty of run in his legs. So it was a shared load across the middle of the ground, and that's how Collingwood won their premiership 2 years ago. You just looked out, and everywhere the ball went, they were working hard to get over and outnumber. They'd re-establish the contest and win it back, and then they'd turn it back the other way, and they'd move the ball quickly as a unit, not one-off superstars trying to do everything. It was as a unit, and I reckon that's what I saw from them last night. And Port Adelaide have got players like Rosie and Wines and Horne-Francis and that, but they were just overwhelmed by the shared load of Collingwood. So I just thought it was a complete performance, and highlights a little bit of their quality recruiting as well.
Yep.
Dan Houston was the obvious one. He's an All-Australian. He was going to help them. But to get Tim Membry and say, we just need another element in our forward line to complement Myercheck and Elliott and these types of players, and it's not always going to be perfect, and Membry's not going to kick 4 or 5 every game, but he's just that extra difficult matchup for the opposition. Really well played, Pies.
It'll be interesting to see how Collingwood managed Scott Pendlebury throughout the season. He started as the sub last night. He was Craig McRae, the Magpies coach, with the explanation.
Yeah, we had a good chat about a month ago. I'd been thinking about this for a longer than that, and we had a good chat about that. To be honest, I was pretty keen to sub him last week, start as a sub, but we talked through the, you know, 6 days after travel and then what that looked like, potentially hot weather, and we had this game marked for over a month. Yeah.
Craig McRae, AFL Sunday on ABC Sport with Matt Clinch and Cameron Ling. So I think, as you rightfully point out, the Collingwood response was probably what a lot of people expected. They were able to lay the tackles in which were missing in opening round. They only had 39 tackles for the game. They had 38 by half-time. 7 goals to 1 in that third quarter. They kicked 10 consecutive goals either side of half-time, and we mentioned the forwards for Collingwood, who are a lot better. It was the Port Adelaide response which was most damning, and as we try and work out where sides sit in this season, and the same disclaimer that you don't write a team off after one win, it was sort of the fall away from Port Adelaide, which had everyone scratching their head, and obviously the coaching succession which will take place. We know Ken Hinkley's tenure will come to an end at the end of the season, but Connor Rosie, the Port Adelaide captain, joined the broadcast team after the game, and he was asked about their back line.
How's the communication in the back six? Did you feel like it was functional tonight?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I'm not usually down in the back six, so it's probably a better question for them. We're a lot younger, definitely without those boys there, so we've had to ask some other people that traditionally weren't leaders to step up a bit more. So yeah, these games will be good for them, I guess, to learn what to do when the pressure goes up and the moment lifts, and yeah, hopefully they can take that on board and we can all improve for next week.
Connor Rosie from last night. While you mentioned the power missing Zach Butters, who's won the past 2 John Cahill medals, their defensive pressure was the most alarming thing. We touched on Collingwood the week before. 13 Port Adelaide players had 1 tackle or less.
Yeah, and that is alarming and something that needs to be fixed up. But I just wonder, Clinchy, if we're getting another little look at the inequity of the opening round concept. So teams that are second up have just got that extra hardness and sharpness about them, the physicality, they understand what they needed to fix up from the first week. So Essendon looked off the pace, I think, at times. Certainly they weren't as clean and they weren't taking the ball first grab as what Hawthorn weren't quite as sharp with their kicking. I reckon we saw that from Port Adelaide against a Collingwood team who knew exactly what they had to fix up, having played the week before. Now, the anomaly to this is going to be the Brisbane Lions have beaten the Swans, despite the Swans being in the second game and Brisbane being in their first game. But Brisbane are the reigning premiers, so maybe it doesn't count quite the same. I'm keen to watch Melbourne versus the Giants today, because if Melbourne are just that little bit fumblier, maybe they're off a little bit with their tackling and the Giants just completely slice them up, maybe we're seeing how hard it is to play your first game against a team that's playing their second game. So Port were ordinary. I'm not going to shy away from that, and I don't think Ken Hinkley will as well. But also I wonder if they were off, they weren't quite as match hardened by what compared to Collingwood because of that one game. It seems so small, one game versus 2 games, but trust me, it makes a difference for your ability to be clean and a bit hard around the contest, not quite getting knocked off the ball. You need that feeling of real opposition, real home and away game pressure to just sharpen you up a touch. So I'm going to hold my judgment on Port Adelaide a little bit for that reason.
Yep, no, it's a good call, and certainly one to watch as the Giants take on the Demons today. AFL Sunday on ABC Sport. Matt Clinch and Cameron Ling. Your thoughts on the SMS 0437 774 774. Hi, gents. I finally found a positive for opening round. Without it, Geelong would be on top of the ladder. That's from Pugs in Port Melbourne. Hi, Lingy. Can we please get an update on how many games the Tigers are going to win this season?
Fair. Yes, I did. Talking with Bridget on Thursday, I did hint at the fact that Tigers will struggle to win a game this season, and then that completely smacked me in the face on Thursday night. I'm going to leave it a little bit for the last word, the Carlton side of things, but that was a superb win by Richmond. Shows when youthful, skillful, talented young players just play with a freedom and a dare, anything is possible. So, no, I copped that one fair and square on the chin. Well done, Richmond.
Yep, Steve's on the same note. Some of the second-year Tigers have developed very quickly. Banks, Green, Brown, Trezise, Rioli, Campbell, Blight, Bauer. This is a good team. Brendan from Hobart says, do you think the Blues might have tried a bit harder to get Dan Houston? As a Pie supporter, I'm racked with him. Another one comes through. Make sure you give us your name so we can acknowledge it on 0437 774 774. It hurts to see your coach sharing a laugh with an opposition coach, Hinkley and McRae, after his side's greatest loss in his coaching history. No matter the context, that footage, it just hurts. Catherine poses the question, whose game at the new club was better, Tim Membry, Dan Houston or Bailey Smith? I think Lingy's shown he's got a bit of a sentiment there for the Hoops. Mary in South Hobart, great game by Collingwood. They really pulled the plug out on Port Power. Here's to 2025. Grant in Hobart, cold down there, but concerned about the Blues' performance from Thursday night. I'm worried our midfield still cannot defend when the ball rebounds out of our forward line. And JP from Carrum Downs says, I'm with Lingy. Get rid of opening round. How ridiculous it is having a bye in round 3. Rapid thoughts on a couple of games from yesterday, Lingy. The Western Bulldogs, with the ever-growing injury list, were able to get the win they desperately needed, and Luke Beveridge said it was the encouragement in which they looked for after a horror off-season.
It was on a knife's edge after quarter time, really, because they put us under a fair bit of pressure, the Kangaroos. I didn't think we handled their tackling pressure too well, and it was something that was an ongoing challenge throughout the course of the night. So for our midfield brigade and probably our key pillars up either end in Norts and Lobby, just to really sort of stand up in that last quarter and give us some momentum, hit the scoreboard, and some of the boys are in different roles. It's encouraging to be able to come away with a win.
So Luke Beveridge's Bulldogs get the points. North Melbourne got within 9 points on a couple of occasions, linking a sickening collision between Jackson Archer and Luke Cleary, but the Bulldogs needed a bit of positivity and they got it last night.
Yeah, love the fact that a couple of now mature players, and I call them mature because they're 25, 26, Vandermeer, Ed Richards, Bailey Dale, these types of players stood up in the absence of the skipper, Bontempelli. That's what you have to do. Support your captain. Give him a platform when he comes back in round 6 or 7 of 4-3, 5-2, whatever it might be, so that then he can hit the ground running. Do some work for him. Well played, Dogs.
Yep, absolutely. Brisbane Lions, Chris Fagan, off the back of a premiership, was full of praise for his win over the Sydney Swans. They started slow, both Ashcrofts on display, the late withdrawal of Charlie Cameron. They had a few obstacles they had to deal with, the Brisbane Lions, but Chris Fagan was thrilled.
It was one of our great wins today, I reckon, as a group. If you look back over what's happened over the last 2 weeks, we had an interrupted preparation for this game, obviously with the cyclone threat up in Brisbane. We lose Charlie before the game. Sam Day's dad passes away, and those two boys have been practicing in the forward line all summer, and then suddenly 2 or 3 days out, they're not there. We lose Kai Lohman early in the game. Starcevic towards the end of the third quarter, I think it was, or the last quarter. I can't remember. But, yeah, that's an awesome win to come here. Sydney are hard to beat at this ground. They're a tough competitive unit. They would have been upset about their loss last week. They had a lot to play for. And our blokes found a way. And, you know, all credit to our players. I'm bloody proud of them.
Chris Fagan with his sentiments coming through loud and clear. And Brandon Starcevic is probably the concern, Lingy.
Yeah.
So that's a third concussion in 12 games. And now I'm sure he's going to be closely monitored by the Brisbane medical staff.
Yeah, I hate to see that. Terrific player, terrific team player, gives his absolute all. Yeah, I hope he's okay. But when you get those multiple concussions, it becomes worrying, Clinchy. So hopefully he's okay. Chris Fagan should be proud of the group. That is a terrific win against a very good team. How good was Josh Dunkley? Yeah. What a player. I mean, kicks the goal, but 27 disposals, 10 tackles. Loved the game, of course, of Zach Bailey. We're all big fans of him. I think watching him play kicks the four. And Levi Ashcroft, he just showed there's another quality mid who's just going to hit the ground running. He wasn't best on ground or anything like that, but first up, 25 disposals and just looked comfortable at the top level. Yeah, there's a reason why they're going to be premiership favourites throughout this year. They deserve it. They won it last year and they feel like they can get better again.
Yeah, they've lost Joe Danaher, but they certainly look stronger in season 2025. No late changes at the Adelaide Oval. We'll take you to next. Sid Draper and Hunter Clark will be the respective subs. There's plenty left on the table. Fremantle's miserable trip back to Perth, the Blues on Thursday night. Where's Cameron Ling going to go in his last word?
Ladies and gentlemen, we now have much pleasure in inviting 1963 Geelong Premiership player Doug Wade to present the Premiership Cup to Cameron Ling and the Geelong Football Club.
Blackie, toughest opponent.
Cameron Ling.
Ben Cousins, toughest opponent.
Cameron Ling.
Dane Swan, toughest opponent.
Probably Cameron Ling.
Oh, the boys are looking after me there. Thank you very much, boys. Appreciate it. Where I'm going with this, you know where I'm going with this, Clinchy, because it's got to be Carlton. I'm sorry to go back to Thursday night, but great win, Tigers, well done, but that's a bad loss, a really bad loss by Carlton. And going forward from this, Carlton have got to get, and I'm not talking about drop a whole bunch of players here, but seriously ruthless about the way they play. They're coming up Thursday night against a very good Hawthorn team who are already 2-0. It's time to play with that ruthless edge to your game. And by that I don't mean dirty stuff. I don't mean nasty stuff or anything like that. But it's got to be with a mindset of every moment matters. Every contest matters. No, if we're 30 points up, 40 points up, 20 points up, feel like the game's under control. No, we can't relax a little bit. We are not good enough as a team to do that yet. So the next contest has got to be just as crucial as all of those ones that got us to the lead. Because the fact that they had a lead, had the game in control, and they've got the quality of players like Cripps and Walsh and Wiedering and Mackay in the team, it is not okay to cough it up. It truly isn't. So it's Carlton now. Respond in a really hard, tough, ruthless way and show the competition that you're a serious football team, because they got to be. There's too many players who aren't contributing enough in the crucial moments at Carlton, and they've got to do it. And there's been some questionable, or list management's a difficult thing, but you see Matt Kennedy play really well for the Dogs. Matty Owies is about to play for West Coast Eagles, so they've lost a couple of those types of players. Obviously, that's to give opportunity to others, Clinchy, but who's going to step up and actually take control a little bit?
Yep.
Or is it just going to be Paddy Cripps who has to do everything? And we're going to be living like we were 5 years ago when it was all Cripps and felt like his body was going to break apart because he was trying to carry an entire team.
Yeah.
No. Shared load. That's what it has to be if you're going to respond to this. But come on, time to get serious.
Yep. Good final word. I'm not sure using Patrick Cripps as your second ruck is the best use of the two-time Brownlow medalist, but hey, we can continue this conversation another day. The Saints and the Adelaide Crows to come from the city of Churches. I'm heading to the MCG. The Giants and the Demons, 6 debutants for the Demons, and Andrew McWalter in his first game as the coach of the West Coast Eagles against Damien Hardwick's Suns. Can they win on the road? That all lies ahead. Look forward to chatting again next Sunday, Lingy.
Thanks, Clinchy. Have a great day.
The commentary team to take over Aaron Bryant's Tom Wilson, Ebony Marinoff and Josh Franco. The Adelaide Crows taking on the Saints. Enjoy your Sunday of footy.
ABC Sport.
We begin this broadcast by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which this match will be played today and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening.
It's all on the line. Here we go.
The moment of truth has arrived.
What a matchup this is. What a game.
The umpire holds the footy up.
I wouldn't want to be anywhere else on earth.
On ABC Sport, this is the AFL.
Oh, there's a bit to get inside of the mouth.
The intensity and the pressure around the ball is unbelievable.
Take your moment. This is that moment of the game of footy.
This is just football at its best.
And that'll be it. From walking on thin ice to dancing on the mountaintop, the Brisbane Lions never stopped believing. And they are the champions.
Sit back, relax, witness the greatest. It don't get better than this.
He curls it through for a magnificent goal. Comes out, gathers, snaps, goal.
An extra bit of class.
He smashed that through. What a kick.
Goes bang with everything he's got.
They are leaving nothing out there.
Listen to the roar.
The drop punt. He's gone. And the building is jumping. We know he's a big shot taker. He's a big shot taker. Leans back on the kick. Game on.
Like camera action, baby. Countdown to contact.
From the right forward pocket. Oh, he's a sharpshooter, all right.
Step up in the big moment.
Close to the man on the mark. Drop punt. He's there. Gathers, snaps. He'll bring the house down.
Sit back, relax, witness the greatest. It don't get better than this.
He'll put it on the boot. Kick up towards the logo.
You take a seat, cause it don't get better than
He
this.
defies the laws of gravity. He runs onto it 50 from goal. He's in Dusty's pocket. He shoots. Oh, he's as bloody good as Dusty. Oh, yeah. Rose snaps goal. The drop punt. It's good. And you can hear that mighty roar. Walks one way and the next and the snap. There's the finish. 60 out. Oh, my goodness. That's a massive kick. Big time spot. Big time goal kicker.
That's why we love football.
Brilliant to watch.
From the centre wicket, whacks it for six, scores level, running past, throws it on the left, could that be the sealer? Seconds ticking down, we're not done yet, what a finish.
Welcome to the 2025 AFL Premiership season on ABC Sport. On radio, on digital and on the ABC Listen app.
You take a seat, cause it don't get better than this.
After 7 years in the wilderness, there are no more excuses for Matthew Nicks and the Adelaide Crows as they kickstart a high-pressure campaign against a wounded St Kilda outfit. There are plenty of fresh faces this afternoon. The Saints with three debutants, Liam O'Connell, Max Hall and Harry Boyd. For the Crows, they get to unveil Peatling, Cumming and Neil Bullen. And Jack McRae, after 249 games with the Western Bulldogs, dons a new Guernsey and gets to celebrate his milestone with St Kilda. Great to have your company for Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans to call the action for you, the first of three games coming your way across ABC Radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app today. Alongside me to call the action, it's great to welcome back to the ABC Sport AFL family Australian media's new Mr. Cricket, I reckon, as well. Tom Wilson, good to see you.
Oh, that's quite the intro. Great to see you, Aaron. It's fantastic to be here. Not too hot, perfect conditions for footy, and what an exciting time for the Adelaide Footy Club. Some new faces that you mentioned, a lot of experience, and as well Sid Draper, who will start as the sub, but it's going to be exciting to see him. And for St Kilda, well, it's going to be a tough challenge. A lot of probably all the pressure's on Adelaide, so for them they can just play freely, but I can't wait to see Harry Boyd, the Norwood boy, make his debut today.
Accolades are plenty in the ABC Sport box this afternoon. One of the most prolific players in the game, Ebony Marinoff, the seven-time All-Australian and new W medalist. Good to see you, Ebs.
Oh, no, super excited to be here. I can't believe we're already here. It feels like yesterday, but yeah, touching on that Harry Boyd, what an extraordinary story over the summer. Super excited he gets to be back in Adelaide, obviously coming from Victoria, but it's a big year for the Adelaide Footy Club, and hopefully the boys can really stamp their mark on round one.
And alongside Noffy, we've got the three-time showdown medalist and the All-Australian Josh Franco. Welcome back, Josh.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. And you sort of touched on it in the opening, Aaron. Really interesting to see how Adelaide progressed this year. They look a lot better balanced with those three additions of Cumming, Peatling and Neil Bullen. I've watched St Kilda a couple of weeks ago against Port Adelaide. We know what happened to Port Adelaide last night. this is going to be a mauling today, and I don't want to put a early on St Kilda. And I know it's only round one, but from what I saw a couple of weeks ago, I can't see them getting close to the Crows this afternoon.
We'll hold you to it. The fifth member of our team downstairs is Liz Walsh.
Hello, Aaron, and if you can hear the crowd behind me, it is kicking. Adelaide have won the toss. They're going to be kicking to the northern scoreboard end of the ground.
Thanks very much, Liz Walsh. Cheryl away here for round one at Adelaide Oval. Riley O'Brien beats out Boyd, knocks it towards Saligo, who overran it. Steele's got it, wraps it around his back, shrugs the tackle at the right time, and they go to the top of the 50. Almost going to make their way there. Fisted over the back nicely there by Worrell, out towards the wing. The Crows have the numbers, led by Saligo. 3-on-1, doing very well down there for St Kilda was Wilson. And his handball, though, went straight to Millerer, and he takes it back out over the boundary line. We'll have a throw-in. Great to see Wayne Millerer back out there after a long injury layoff as well.
Absolutely. And for the Adelaide Crows, we spoke about Pete Ling. He's the GWS recruit. He started in the midfield for the Crows.
Toss back in, no score so far. Adelaide and St Kilda on ABC Sport. O'Brien wins it down, only found McRae. The premiership dog up towards right half forward. Flying early was Worrell. It slipped through his hands. Good tackle late at the 4. The footy and a ball up to come.
Isaac Rankin also starting in the midfield, so it'll be interesting to see what his split forward is today.
O'Brien jostling for position. Boyd's in the ruck against him. Tap towards the boundary line. Rankin wants to keep it in. Squeezes the handball across to Dawson. A tumbler for the Crows through centre wing on the broadcast side, and it's taken cleanly. Phil Thorpe with the gather. 1-on-1 in the 50. Put it in the path of Keys. Bent to it by Webster, who kept his feet in the tackle. Brilliant play from the defender for the Saints. His kick knocked over the boundary line, though, and it will be tossed into play. A bit of argy-bargy after, but the home crowd very happy to see that. The text line, if you want to get in touch today as well, 0437 774 774.
Called it superbly. Webster was under immense pressure there from Keys, who's a tackling machine for the Adelaide Footy Club. Did it well.
O'Brien knocks that down. McRae's in the right spot. Quick hands to Zach Jones. Kicks the ball down the middle of the ground. Finds Marshall. Bright pink boots. Doesn't waste his time. Kicks towards the top of the 50. Over the head of Murray. Running back onto it is Caminiti. Couldn't quite gather. Under pressure back there are the Crows, but they're going to work their way through. There's Neil Bullen for his first touch. And he finds the target out on the outer side. Doing very well to find Keys, who's worked his way down to right half back.
And Neil Bullen's first touch just to settle the early nerves, no doubt.
The co-reigning best and fairest finds the other man who won the award in Dawson. On the logo, outer side, front of the Bashir stand. Dawson drives it in the direction of Walker. It was low and hard and wide. Tumbles its way over the boundary line in front of the scoreboard. No score so far. Opening 2 minutes here at the Adelaide Oval. Still to come today, Melbourne and the Giants, and West Coast and the Suns. It's all available to you on the ABC Listen app through the AFL button. Beautiful sunshine here in South Australia. Tossed in, Walker doing the ruck work against Boyd. The Saint won it down. Sinclair, his first game of the season. First game of the season for many players, but didn't feature in the pre-season. Wrapped up in a couple of tackles on the paint of 50 for the Crows. We'll try again. Quick ball up. Walker wins it down from behind. Does his own crumbing as well. The handball shot forward, trying to find an option. The Saints had 3 waiting back. McRae to Wilkie, North Adelaide product. Back towards the outer wing. O'Brien put it down. A couple of hands, it pinballs to the boundary line.
Interesting too, Aaron, just looking at St Kilda's setup, they've got Marshall starting forward, Boyd's in the ruck, and I reckon you'll see Marshall play a fair bit ahead of the ball today, even though he's probably one of the best premier ruckmen in the competition.
Looks like he'll be starting in the centre bounce and making that move post the CB.
O'Brien and Boyd knocks it down towards Saligo. He's got some support in Laird, playing across half-back this season. Saligo looking for Fogarty, just fisted away at the right time. Running inside the 50 is Rankin. Got support from Keys. Went to go the 1-2, but batted away cleverly by St Kilda. Nasiah Wanganeen. Miller's quick kick is short, but long enough, and Fogarty intercepts. He marks 30 metres out on a 45-degree angle.
Is that a 15-metre kick?
Well, yeah, and look, I think it was the wrong option as well. When you're under pressure, particularly early in the game when the heat's on, you've just got to bang that ball long and boundary and get a little bit of field position so that at least from a worst-case scenario perspective, you can force it out of bounds, but just a little bit too cute there on that occasion, Wanganeen, Millerer.
So St Kilda's defence under pressure. Adelaide 3 inside 50s to 1. Fogarty to give them an ideal start in round 1 on Adelaide Oval. You can hear the roar. Darcy Fogarty put it in the book. He's got the first goal for the Crows in season 2025.
Well, I tell you what, Darcy Fogarty, I used to coach a bloke called Lewis Johnston who also played for the Crows at North Adelaide when I was involved in the SNFL. He was the best kick for goal I've ever seen. Darcy Fogarty, I reckon, tops him. He just does not miss. His action is flawless. And to go back and nail the first major for Adelaide in season 2025, that'll settle his nerves. And a lot of expectations on his shoulders this year as well. Tex is the player, I guess. Where does he fit into the forward line? He's still a valuable contributor, but Darcy Fogarty needs to take that next step this year.
Voice of Josh Franco alongside Ebony Marinoff for Sunday Footy on ABC Sport. The Crows on the board first. Lenny T to bounce the ball in the middle. The first mum in AFL history to field umpire in this competition. A 1-year-old Levi in the crowd alongside her husband Dylan. It's a beautiful bounce. Boyd stays down. O'Brien comes late to win it down for the Crows. Tumbles its way in the direction of Scholl. Picked off by Wilson. Tackle, dropped it. Steele goes for the volley. Missed it as it's plucked away by Hinge. Hands it to Dawson. Thumping towards the 50. It's a little shallow for Thilthorpe. Did enough to knock it in the direction of Saligo. Wrapped up by a couple. The ball shoots out. Thilthorpe gathers. Hands it to Walker. He's open 45 out, but took too long. McRae closes. Hands it to Saligo. Off a step. Looks for the snap. Too far wide right. And in the end, out on the full. Free kick to St Kilda. Adelaide lead by 6. We played 6 minutes in the opening term.
Webster short to Wanganeen. Miller up. Clean with his kick this time, coming out of defence and not the required distance. There's good pressure.
I have been hot on that, haven't they, Tom? Particularly throughout the pre-season as well. If they don't think it's travelled the required distance, they're going to call play on as they did on that occasion.
Memo's certainly gone around. So we'll have a boundary throw in, right forward pocket for Adelaide. Cathedral end or the scoreboard end of the ground. Boyd knocks it down. Peatling's in front of his opponent, Steele. Wanganeen Miller again. Rochelle gets busy. Flicks it out to Crouch on the left boot. Matty Crouch has just come onto the ground and he's kicked a goal. Adelaide on fire. 2 straight 12. St Kilda yet to score. About 7 minutes gone in this first quarter on ABC Sport.
And that's the depth that Crows fans have been looking for. Josh Rochelle just comes onto the ground and has immediate impact, as does Matt Crouch. You found Jordan Dawson at that centre bounce actually start off the half back, so just mixing it up. They haven't had that in the previous years, and it's a hot start.
And even just looking at some of the numbers, I touched on it a couple of minutes ago, how Boyd's playing in the ruck and Rowan Marshall's starting deep forward for St Kilda, but already concerning signs for the St Kilda coaching staff. The clearances at the moment are 4-all, but the hit-outs well in favour of the Adelaide Crows, and I guess the ground level players for Adelaide at the moment looking ominous, and on that occasion Matt Crouch, outstanding finish.
The Norwood Premiership ruckman and Magarey medalist Harry Boyd having a tough task against Riley O'Brien early. Bounce just inside the centre circle. O'Brien won it down. Hands and knees. Garcia rips it away for the Saints. Hands it to Boyd. Off a step towards the 50. Players converge. Knocked to ground. Hinge was waiting front and square. Retreats to Murray. Heads long to the eastern wing. Keys in a one-on-one there. Hasty edges him under the ball drop. Rolls towards the logo. Saints have the numbers. Handball shoots back. Hasty finds O'Connell. Now gets it back. Handball thrust forward. Burns running out of room. Did well in a tight spot. Over to Wood. Had a runner on the outside. Decides to use Hall on debut. He goes big early. But it's thumped too far left, and a minus score for the Saints, who are on the board finally at the 8-minute mark. Kicking to the Riverbank stand end in this opening term. They're down 11.
Worrell works it to Hinge. Left half back on that left foot. Going long, looking for Curtin. It nearly beats everyone. Rochelle's going to run onto it beautifully. They've got numbers. It's a 3-on-1. Rochelle kicks it over to the space to Walker. He goes to one hand, gathers, hairball to Thilthorpe in the goal square. That's 3 in a row, Adelaide. The early crow is on. 3 straight. 18 Adelaide. Thilthorpe gets his first. St Kilda just the behind. 9 minutes gone, first term.
That's just, yeah, stunning play. You know, Mitch Hinge, a well-known left footer, just darts it through the middle. And just Dan Curtin had a little impact there just to brush out the St Kilda player and allow Josh Rochelle to use his pace Tex Walker nearly fumbles at the inside 50. But unselfish play, that's what we saw at the back end of last year. The Adelaide Crows forward line, they were gelling, they were being unselfish, connecting everyone into the game. And it truly is a hot start. And Crows fans, this stadium's rocking.
And even looking at the play of Thilthorpe there, his direct opponent, I think it was Webster, pressed forward, came to the contest, the ball went over the back, Cardinals sit in a marking contest, and Thilthorpe just an easy cherry-picking goal to finish the play off.
Adelaide by 17 early. Thilthorpe in the ruck now wins it down towards Rankin.
That looks sharp, the Crows.
Beautiful take. Gives it to Scholl. Here's the chain. Crouch to Hinge. Looks wide. Pinpoint pass on the boundary line to Rochelle. Very smooth, the Adelaide Crows. Rochelle wheels around Webster. Flares it up to left half forward. It was low and hard. Took a bounce before it hit Walker. Up first to the footy is Zane Cordy, who knocks it over the boundary line.
Oh, we're only early stages of this first quarter, Aaron, but already Isaac Cumming and Peatling are yet to touch the footy. They just need to get hold of the leather just to settle those nerves.
The two former Giants waiting for their go here at Adelaide Oval. Tossed in, Walker down a Scholl. Here's a new face. Neil Bullen heads for home, but it's wide right. Another blemish for the Crows. Well, their first blemish actually of the afternoon. 3-1-19, St Kilda with the one behind. We've played 11 minutes in his opening term, Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
So McRae's going to get it for St Kilda. Game 250. His first for the Saints. Kicks it out of defence, leading in the race there. Brilliantly read in defence by Mark Keane. Too good for his opponent, Marshall. It's up very gingerly. Puts his hand up to the docks. Not a good sign when one of your best players is already hurt. Kicks towards centre half forward. Rankin's handball just a bit too far out in front of Hinge. Ends in the hands of McRae. Webster kicks to space, but Worrell's leading in the race. Not many options for St Kilda coming out of defence. The Crows are all over him at the moment.
Worrell looks central to Miller. The milestone man game 100. Took 10 years to get there. Hands it to Murray, then Crouch, and now Keane, the Irishman, on the broadcast wing, just drills it in the direction of Walker. Took it on the half volley. Diving handball back to Scholl. He'll sit it up top of the goal square. Fogarty flies, couldn't take it. Spills down to Peatling, tried to pick the gap. Ricocheted off his shin. Towed forward though. Rochelle gets it back, and it's put through by Cumming. They just kept forcing it forward, and some special work from Josh Rochelle sets up Isaac Cumming. And the Giant turned Crow stars at his new home. Adelaide up by 24 in the opening term. 4-1-25. The Saints just the one behind. 12 played. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Your experts, Ebony Marinoff and Josh Franco.
That was just a sensational kick from Lachie Scholl prior to that goal actually happening. You can see in some those direct forward inside 50 kicks, they just pop it too close to the square. But his ability to keep that alive for the small forwards, and Josh Roselli's been directly involved in 3 scores since coming on, and probably 3 score assists. He had a big summer, and he's shown in the first quarter today.
And I reckon already alarm bells would be ringing in the St Kilda coaching box. Statistically, contestable, uncontested possession inside 50s, but their efficiency once they go inside 450 Adelaide has been outstanding.
Marshall into the ruck versus Thilthorpe. He's already got a goal, Thilthorpe. He's knocked it forward, just hustling it forward. Gets it to Rankin. Quick hands to Neil Bullen. Take 2 for Neil Bullen. And another behind. Actually goes out of bounds on the full. Just tugged it way too far left. So no score there for Adelaide, but another dominant centre clearance. They lead by 24 points.
And at the moment, St Kilda just can't get any pressure on the ball either. There's too many Crows players that are free. And at the moment, St Kilda really struggling to get their hands on the footy.
It's ominous early. Schoenmaker. The late inclusion during the week as a result of Mitch Owen's shoulder. Kicks up to the broadcast wing, throw a blanket over them on the drop. Trickles towards the defensive 50 for the Saints. Cordy hands it back to Schoenmaker. Up to the logo. This time it's his target. Marshall tried to release Garcia. Didn't realise Saligo was breathing down his neck. Tackle holding the ball. Adelaide now on the counter. Saligo punches it to Rankin. Spots Walker. Knocked away late as he tried to take the mark from Wilkie. Tried to slap it forward. Wanganeen Miller is sitting back. Hands it to Hasty. A clearing kick from the Saints is a wayward one. Bouncing its way towards the broadcast swing. O'Brien put it down, but they've made amends. Murray Back to Neil Bullen, then Saligo swings it towards the 50. Walker again the target, and this time he's clubbed it. Payne had two players all over him, got both mitts in the gap, and the ball was knocked out late. Play continues. St Kilda have it left half back.
Would have been paid a free or the mark there, I think, Taylor Walker. They might get a free kick here, Adelaide. No, play on, says the umpire. They gather the footy on the outer side of the ground, just on the logo of the wing. They work their way back to Matt Crouch, who chips it to Dawson. The skipper plays on. The new number 9, Nick Murray. So the switch has been completed. Interchange side of the ground here at Adelaide Oval in the hands of Keys. Rolls around on his left foot. Kicks it to left half forward. And Wilkie read that best. Jumped in front of Walker. Takes the intercept mark. So Windhager brings it out. Finds Burns. He's at right half back. Takes his full allotted time. Kicks down the wing. Running in front of that pack was Mason Wood. Can they get something going here, St Kilda? Kicking towards Hill, who was interfered with there by Keys, who wasn't really looking at the footy. Play on, says the umpire. Caminiti handballs inside the forward 50 in a one-on-one with Keane, who's keen to get it to the boundary. Caminiti on hands and knees. Keane as well. He just gathers the footy. Keeps it in play. Crouch, big bump. Hit hard by Wood. Underground handball towards Neil Bullen. It's that left half-back flank. Scrambling ball. Windhager finally goes inside the forward 50. But waiting the back is coming for the Crows.
Short pass to O'Brien. Heads low to the eastern wing. Didn't really favour Rankin. Had to pursue, but the Saints have numbers. Schoenmaker. Across to Wanganeen Miller and now Webster. Spots O'Connell. Debutant. Share it wide with Wilson. He's in front of the Rashudo stand. Still a kick away from a score for the Saints, who are yet to have a goal in the opening 16 minutes. Wilson lowers the eyes. Delicate pass forward. And the mark taken just outside 50 by Windhager. Called to play on as he steps across to his right. He'll set it up in the direction of Higgins. Flew late. Murray put his body on the line, back with the flight. Knocked it down. Higgins, though, can crumb. Hands it to Zach Jones. Game 150 for him. Tries to share it and works. Up to Max Hall. Jostling for position with Hinge one-on-one in the right forward pocket. And Hall, another one of the new faces for the Saints, gets a crack at goal on a tight angle.
You talk about turnover game as well in the AFL, in the modern game. The kick from O'Brien just missed the target to Rankin, I think it was. Forced the turnover. And again, Matt Crouch just being a little bit too cute, trying to look to exit their D50 through hand. Should have kicked the ball long forward and now potentially pays the price.
Last year's mid-season pick for the Saints. Max Hall starts it right, tried to bring it back. Won't work for him. Minor score for the Saints, just the 2 behinds for them as we approach time on. The Crows 4-1-25. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Liz Walsh downstairs.
Bit of a conditions report for you down here. Thankfully, yesterday's 40 degrees has made way for much kinder footy conditions. There's a slight breeze heading to the northern scoreboard end, but the sun still has a bit of bite to it. I'll let you call this, though.
Yep, worked it to Dawson, who kicks it long, looking for Rochelle. Jumps off the 2 feet, gathers with a spin. Handballs over the top to Fogarty. He can run it all the way in and kick his second. Great transition play from Adelaide. It started with Phil Thorpe to Dawson to Rochelle to Foggy. He's got 2. Adelaide have got 5. 5-1-31. St Kilda 2 behinds into time on in this first term.
That's just the luxury of Jordan Dawson. He almost looks like he's playing a little bit of a swingman role in this last 5 minutes of the quarter. But just his left foot dart. And Josh Rochelle again. Just an excitement machine. He's kept his feet. And Darcy Fogarty hits the scoreboard again. Just impressive play. Just creating opportunities inside 50, but closer to goal. Not 30, 40 metres out. 10, 15. And it's hard to stop.
And I think on the reverse side of the coin, from St Kilda's point of view, that marking contest where Zach Jones just had to do everything possible to bring the ball to ground. He didn't get any contact on Dawson at all. Then there's speed on the ball. And when it goes inside forward 50 for Adelaide at the moment, as we said previously, their efficiency to score has been superb. And again, on that occasion, Rochelle, outstanding.
Crows by 29. NET bounces it in the middle. Boyd on the tap down, but it was outside the circle and will be recalled. On the text line, Mark in Adelaide, who loves a stat, says, hi, Aaron, what number consecutive game is Callum Wilkie playing today? It's 133, Mark. The North Adelaide product, who's been an absolute gun for the Saints. All-Australian a couple of years ago. Restart in the middle. Dawson takes it off the tap. Looking for Crouch, sandwiched by a couple of bodies. Ball shoots out towards Zach Jones. Around the body towards the 50 he goes.
Yeah.
And a free kick to Mason Wood, who's bowled over by Murray. They can take the advantage out the back. Bursting by was Hall. This one's a gimme. After a couple of long-range shots, Max Hall can walk one in. His first goal in AFL footy, and the Saints' first of the afternoon. 1-2-8. They trail the Crows 5-1-31. Time on in the first term. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Your experts, Ebony Marinoff and Josh Franco.
Well, probably a much-needed goal, Ebony, for St Kilda. They were under the pump. They're under siege. Inside 50s to this point in the game is 13-7 in favour of Adelaide. So one definitely against the tide. And the scoreboard, even though we're sort of early stages of this game, was starting to get away from St Kilda. So a good reply there.
That's just the centre bounce, you know, when they're man on man. Mason Wood, definitely a hold there by Nick Murray. So it's just that fast play out of the centre bounce that can really create you a little bit more easy opportunities when it is 1v1.
23-point margin in favour of Adelaide. That bounce a little bit wayward again, so we'll bring that back between Boyd and O'Brien.
Get rid of the bounce, Tom.
It's great. I think it's great as a ceremonious thing at the start of the game and maybe a quarter. Yep.
Get rid of it.
Boyd knocks it down. Saligo knocks it to Crouch.
The hands look sharp too.
They're certainly on. Finds it to the skipper and Dawson, who hits Riley Thilthorpe in the Dukes. Marks on the 50. Kicks towards the top of the square. Just a wayward kick, but just read best in the end by St Kilda. And they take the intercept mark through O'Connell.
That was a courageous mark from O'Connell. Running back with the flight of the ball. Doesn't know what's coming. That's a superb mark.
The Irishman, who grew up in WA, then went back to County Cork and has returned to Australia, gave it across to Hastings, coughed it up, straight to Saligo, back into the 50. Kick was a little long for Scholl. Wanganeen Miller at the back goes for a run. Nice bounce, pulled it back in, and then pushed as he kicked it. A worm burner that's cut off by Dawson. Back towards the 50 for the Crows. He's pierced the gap and found Thilthorpe through three bodies. Jordan Dawson, exquisite delivery as always.
The other thing that's really obvious from a visual point of view is the inability for St Kilda to pressure Adelaide and Adelaide's ability to shift the ball by hands in the scramble situation. And at the moment, St Kilda, when the ball's live and there's numbers around the footy, just cannot get a glove on Adelaide to slow them down. And then when you get a guy like Dawson kicking the ball inside forward 50, it makes it really challenging for the defenders.
Thilthorpe trots in. Kick looks good. Wow. Immediately off the boot. Riley Thilthorpe has two. Just the 7 games last season after the meniscus injury, but maybe 2025 is his time. Maybe it's the Crows' time. They're up already by 29. 6-1-37 plays 1-2-8. 22 played in the opening term. Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
Again, another outstanding bit of play from Adelaide. And as we said, ominous signs for the Crows. And Ross Lyon, admittedly, they've got some players to come back into this St Kilda lineup, but they, at the moment, look like they're all at sea. They can't get pressure on the Adelaide mids. They're finding it difficult to defend behind the ball, particularly when there's speed on the ball. And Adelaide's forward line at the moment is functioning superbly. They've had 7 shots on goal for 16 entries. And for St Kilda, just the 7 inside 50s for 1 goal too. So signs are looking ominous for the Crows.
Knocked down by O'Brien, another hit out. But Jack Steele did well for St Kilda.
That's the difference there. Sorry, Tom.
His handball was intercepted by the Crows and Rankin. He kicks it out wide. Finds Scholl, plays on quickly. A low ball. A tough one for Saligo. He's got Steele as company. St Kilda will be keen to get this out over the boundary line, which they do.
Just on Jack Steele, he's only had the 2 touches, so prominent midfielder. He probably needs to get on hands on the footy, but you've touched on it. It's the Adelaide Crows' hands and ability to flick it around the midfield. They need to get pressure on the ball.
Scholl gets the clearance, goes inside 50 again. Wilkie's first hands on the ball. Rochelle roved it beautifully as he was dodging and weaving. The ball just slipped out of his hands, but lays a great tackle there, putting the pressure right on. Kick coming out of defence from St Kilda. Can they get something going late in this quarter? The handball to Boyd has him under lots of pressure from O'Brien, who tackles him, and we'll have a ball up.
Crows by 29. O'Brien down. Tap straight to Crouch. Shoal, Laird, and then Saligo. All too easy at the moment for the Crows. Down the line, the kick. A little bit casual to Fogarty, who had to charge out to meet it. Picked off by Sinclair. The dual Australian up the eastern wing, targeted Wood. Murray flew across with a fist and smashed it into the Odie stand. 6-1-37 the Crows. St Kilda 1-2-8. It's a polar opposite of last night with the other South Australian club, Port Adelaide. Maybe a bit early to get into that, Josh.
Don't go there, Aaron, please.
It was a bit of a massacre last night at the MCG. Tossed in. Boyd down to McRae. Hands it to Windhager. Through traffic. Goes back to Hasty. Off a step, high up to left half forward. Murray clunks himself underneath it and takes the mark with ease on the 45 to Laird now. Back at his traditional home of half-back. Seems to be settling in well. Shares it across the line. Hinge, now through defensive 50 to Keane. Kicks a little low. Scrappy in the direction of Michael Lanny. Was brought down without it. The Saints got a little bit too hungry and too eager. And a free kick to go the way of the young man, Max Michael Lanny.
So still a few minutes left of this first quarter. Still lots of opportunities for Adelaide. Dawson launches at that one. Nasai Wanganeen Miller got the fist in there and has the gather. Kicks towards the boundary line. Hoping for his teammate in Burns, but probably happy for it to run out over the boundary line as well. The Crows lead by 29 points. Round one here on ABC Sport. With experts Josh Franco and Ed Marinoff. I'm Tom Wilson with Aaron Bryans. Strong start here from Adelaide. Their big names are very busy. Crouch has got 9 touches. Boundary throw-in. Here's one of their recruits, Peatling. Handballs it back to Lloyd. To Laird, I should say. Higgins got in there with a smother. And then Dawson lace a nice tackle there. Handball out towards Windhager. The pressure from Riley O'Brien, the big ruckman. Got the handball to Saligo, to Cumming. Wraps it around the body to centre half forward. Rochelle with the quick handball, just under pressure. Just couldn't quite get it to Neil Bullen. But the kick coming out of defence was poor. Hinge hands. Looked like a high tackle. Back to Hinge on the handball on the left boot. He had options. He went for goal and pulled it away to the right. Minor score, Adelaide 6-2-38. St Kilda 1-2-8, 27 minutes gone first term.
Even that scramble in front of the members' wing here at Adelaide Oval was just symptomatic of how Adelaide are playing at the moment. Even the big ruckman, Riley O'Brien's getting involved with a great close, great tackle. Just needed to finish off in front of the big sticks, Adelaide, on that occasion.
Wanganeen Miller on the defensive goal square. Heads wide right. Sinclair in the pocket. Looks for an exit on the broadcast wing. O'Brien nudges Boyd under the drop. Nearly took the intercept mark. Works in their favour anyway. Michael Lanny for the Crows. Around the body off balance. Tries to get it to the attacking edge. Hits the deck. Charging through. Peatling spun a full 360. Then becomes the tackler himself on Burns. Ball comes out to Steele. No whistle so far for either side. Up to right half forward. Keane meets it and is escorted over by Rowan Marshall. Crows by 30. Home crowd is hot and happy at the moment. It's been a rough near decade for them. Big day as well for Matthew Nicks. Level with Gary Ayres for the second most games at the Crows in history. Yet to play finals. This is the year you'd think he has to get it done. Boyd out of the stoppage. Towards the 50 for the Saints. Marshall has to spoil it from behind with the fist. Only found Saligo. Shares it with Cumming. Didn't know what to do, so just goes for territory. A kick up to left half forward with a bit of backspin. Sits up close towards the line. Walker's happy to knock it. Philthorpe, rather, happy to knock it over. We'll get a boundary throw in at left half forward. Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
It's an interesting one there because Cumming doesn't really know what to do with it. But instead of coming inboard, just float it down the line and they've gained an extra 30 metres of territory.
Real rugby move there. Kicking to touch. Boundary throw in. Windhager for St Kilda, gets the clearance, gets it via hand to McRae, who was looking for Higgins. That runs out over the boundary line right in front of the St Kilda bench.
And again, just another example of every possession St Kilda get at the moment is under pressure because Adelaide intent and mindset, which they've obviously come into this game, has been outstanding, particularly their mids.
Boundary throw in. Boyd wins this one down off the boot of Peatling. Quick hands St Kilda doing well. Garcia kicks it from centre wing, looking forward. Wood did well to get in front. Looked like a high tackle there on Keane. He's swung around. He throws the boot on it. Hinge. This is possession number 10. Oh, sort of handballed it to himself and then fisted it away. Laird handballs to space. Peatling dives on top of the footy. Good pressure there from Garcia and St Kilda. Gets it to McRae. Back to Garcia. Working their way through this via Hasty. Have to score quickly here, St Kilda, if they want to get one on the board. Higgins at the front of the pack. Rose does what he does best. Opportunist goals. Jack Higgins gets one back for St Kilda, his first. They go to 2-4-14. Adelaide 6-2-38. That's a goal in red time. They lead by 24 points.
That's just elite.
Yeah,
small forward craft. Higgins was leading goalkeeper for St Kilda last year. Really crafty at that, but just a little bit better of a ball. And Jack Worrell just lost the positioning, and Jack Higgins was able to be at the feet and stay in the contest, which is a nice finish. But Tom, you talk about a red time goal. It's probably not what St Kilda are after.
And it wasn't sort of free flowing. And to St Kilda's credit on that occasion, they just stuck at it. And when you're that far behind on the scoreboard and not really in the contest from a physical point of view and a momentum point of view, you just got to scrounge goals any way you possibly can. And Higgins, as we said, he's a noted goal kicker, a terrific crumb and a terrific finish.
4-goal lead to the Crows. The Saints with a late sniff. Bounce in the middle. One down by Boyd. Towed by Crouch straight back to Garcia for the Saints. Up to half forward, he targeted Higgins. Put it down. Worrell gets it out to Laird and the Crows get out of dodge. Michael Lani to right half back. Scholl reels it in with the left arm. Back with the flight. Had a one-on-one with Burns and still got the job done. Dinks it forward to Saligo in front of the Williams stand. Could be in for a big campaign, fresh off a showdown medal last year and a career-high 22 touches per game. A solid pre-season as well, Jake Saligo. Use Lockie Scholl. Now Keys, centre wing on the eastern side. Chips it to Walker, juggling mark up against Shoemaker, who lost his feet, freed up the Texan, heads long into the scoreboard pocket. Thilthorpe put it down in front of the pack. Dawson now wrestling through, got it back to Big Riley. He gives it to his skipper, and Dawson finishes. The will and the effort from the captain of the Crows. Gets it home late in the opening term and makes the margin a flat 30 points again. 7-2-44 to the Saints, 2-2-14. 31 played. Sunday footy on ABC Sport with Josh Franco and Ebony Marinoff.
What I will say as well, without smashing St Kilda too much, just another example, really poor play. I think it was Schoenmaker v Walker on the outer side. It was a poor kick to Walker. He had to sit, had to bring it to ground, or at least had to force it out of bounds for a boundary throw-in. Wasn't able to impact the spoil in the marking contest. Go forward, another goal to Adelaide. And at the moment, as we said, the signs are looking good for the Crows. Another area of interest as well, just looking at some of the statistics, kicks to handball 66-58 Adelaide. So they are using the ball by hand. If St Kilda can somehow manufacture a bit of pressure on the ball, they might be able to get their hands on the footy and just change some of the momentum of this contest currently.
Inside 50s 20-9 in this opening quarter. Boyd knocks it forward. Running back onto it is Crouch. Embrace the contact and the pressure. Gets it to Max Michaelani. Is there still time for Adelaide? That might hurt them there. Good grab there from Hasty. Goes up the line. Finds Steele. The outer wing. Handballs over the top. McRae. Maybe there's time for St Kilda. But kicks to a 2-on-1. And Mark Keane read it best. And a very, very strong start for Adelaide. A lot of talk last year about what they might be able to do. The big focus was round one. And in the opening quarter of round one, they've made a strong start. Adelaide 7-2-44, St Kilda 2-2-14.
It was brief, but there was a short standing ovation there from the home crowd. They're just desperate for September footy. It's very early in the campaign, but they've liked what they've seen so far. Opening term goes the way of the Crows by 30 points. The goal scorers in it, Fogarty and Thilthorpe with 2 apiece. Singles to Crouch, Dawson and Cumming for the Saints. Both individual. Max Hall on debut and Jack Higgins hitting the scoreboard as well. 7-2-44 plays 2-2-14. Still to come, we've got the D's and the Giants at the G from 3 p.m. Eastern. And then West Coast and Gold Coast in Perth just before 6 p.m. Eastern as well. The text line 0437 774 774 if you want to get in touch. Peter in Greater Western Sydney says, "Go Blues." And I was asking how you pronounce Well, Campriali is the answer, Peter. We know that Campo did a fair bit of work for us back in the day, and he preferred Camporelli just purely because it was easier to say, but it is traditionally Campriali. And also, Grant in Hobart says, enjoying the call. What's your views on the drop-in cricket pitch being rejected for the Shield final? We don't have enough time for that, Grant, because we could rant and rave all afternoon, but it was a disappointing decision. Yes. That was purely of the AFL's making. I don't think it was ever going to be the opposite, the way that they seem to approach the discussions. So it is what it is. We'll be at Karen Rolton Oval next weekend. But great to see some footy here at the Adelaide Oval. The Crows by 30. The thoughts of Josh Franco and Ebony Marinoff next for Sunday Footy on ABC Sport.
The footy might stop with the final siren, but with ABC AFL, the conversation keeps rolling. Get ABC AFL Daily Podcast with Premiership coach Paul Roos alongside Corbin Middlemass, Ben Cameron and Poppy Penny.
From walking on thin ice to dancing on the mountaintop.
It's your daily footy conversation. Find it on the ABC Listen app. This is the 2025 AFL Premiership season on ABC Sport.
Messiah Wanganeen Miller's quick kick is short but long enough, and Fogarty intercepts. He marks 30 metres out on a 45-degree angle.
Is that a 15-metre kick?
Wow. Yeah, and look, I think it was the wrong option as well.
Fogarty to give them an ideal start in round one on Adelaide Oval. You can hear the roar. Wanganeen Miller again. Rochelle gets busy, flicks it out to Crouch on the left boot. Matty Crouch has just come onto the ground and he's kicked a goal. Rochelle kicks it over to the space to Walker. He goes to one hand, gathers, hairball to Thilthorpe in the goal square. That's 3 in a row, Adelaide.
Ricocheted off his shin, towed forward though. Rochelle gets it back and it's put through by Cumming.
Hairball's over the top to Fogarty. He can run it all the way in and kick his second.
Bursting by was Hall. This one's a gimme. After a couple of long-range shots, Max Hall can walk one in. Thilthorpe trots in. Kick looks good. Wow. Immediately off the boot. Riley Thilthorpe.
Higgins at the front of the pack. Rose does what he does best, opportunist goals.
Got it back to Big Riley. He gives it to his skipper and Dawson finishes.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the AFL.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
It's been an imposing start by the Adelaide Crows. 5 unanswered goals in the first 20 minutes before the Saints finally got on the board. And they lead by 30 at the first change. 7-2-44 the Crows. The Saints 2-2-14. Aaron Bryans and Tom Wilson calling the action. The text line this afternoon 0437 774 774. We'd love to hear from you. Our experts, plenty of accolades between them. Premierships, All Australians, League best and fairest. Josh Franco, Ebony Marinoff, how'd you see the opening term?
A hot start from the Adelaide Football Club. And Josh, we've been talking about it. It's the pressure that they're actually putting St Kilda under. Just a little, stat to touch on. Jack McRae's, he's had 10 touches, but 0 disposal efficiency. So that's just the pressure that the mids are putting on. Matt Crouch, he's only had 51 metres gained, but his ability to take that hard ball get and feed it out to the runners in Rankin and Dawson has been super impressive, as with Jake Saligo. But you need your likes of Jack Steele to get involved in the game. As a captain, what are you asking of them? Adelaide Crows are putting all this pressure on, and they just don't have the ability to uphold it and get any forward half looks.
Well, it's interesting as well, Ebony, and you look at Adelaide, and if you go back 12 months ago, from memory, they played the Gold Coast up at the Gold Coast and had a really disappointing loss. It looks like Adelaide have set themselves for this game, as all clubs do, and I get that. But the way they've come out, the intent, the mindset, whatever you want to call it, has been absolutely outstanding, and the statistics support that. So at the moment, the contested ball, they're +8, tackle count +1, inside 50 is absolutely dominant, +10, and disposals to quarter time, they've had 26 more touches. And as I said, throughout that first quarter, they look really sharp with ball in hand. They're quick hands to be able to change angles, and you hear about that with ball movement by foot, but by hand as well in the scramble. Their ability to go bang, 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 if you can sort of picture what I'm saying, has been absolutely brilliant. It relieves the pressure, and then they're getting better looks ahead of the footy. The other thing I've actually really liked as well, and they've had 31 marks in that first quarter, so they're on track for 120. Quite patient in the back half. They're looking to pick their way through. But the moment that they can get speed on the ball, they go for it. And when you've got guys like Rochelle, Rankin, those fellas that are dangerous smalls ahead of the ball, when you've got Thilthorpe and Tex Walker, and if there's no pressure on the footy, Good luck, St Kilda defenders.
There were a lot of question marks about the tall, four-pronged attack of the Adelaide Crows, but it's working so far when you get excellent delivery. And we've spoken a lot about Matthew Nicks and the pressure on him, but Ross Lyon extended this week by the Saints. It was a big call on the eve of the season through till 2027. And at the moment, it isn't looking great so far. An elimination final in his first year, just the 11 games last year in 12th. Are they headed for a downslide? We'll wait and see. Quarter time, Adelaide by 30. Second term underway at the Adelaide Oval. O'Brien down against Boyd. Found Rankin. Here's another clearance for the Crows. Crouch, searching kick towards the 50. Out to meet it, Curtin. Fist came in from Wilkie. Spilled towards Peatling. Up forward early. Hands it back to Scholl. Into the 50, they converge. 3-on-3, everyone flew. Hits to the back. Burns was waiting. Uses Wilkie for the Saints and ships it to Windhager as they settle down in front of the Rashudo stand.
Not 15, Aaron.
Oh. Everybody stopped.
Yep.
Eventually the tackle was late and we'll get a ball up, but Windhager didn't anticipate it, neither did Jordan Dawson.
At least they've been consistent with their interpretation of that rule.
Ball up left half forward for Adelaide. Through the hands of Scholl. Working his straight through was McRae, gets it to Wilson. He streams down the wing, kicks forward, but the numbers are with the Crows and great positioning from Keane. Got some support from Worrell. Switches on. Michaelani, right half back to Cumming, takes it on the bounce. One Isaac to the other, made it hard for Rankin, but he gathered it best. Got the handball to Millerer. Some support there from Laird. True centre wing, working it by hand. That handball from Walker was too hot for Millerer. Rankin rolls into the tackle there on Hall. Play on, says the umpire. Wilkie v Laird. Still going Curtin with his first touch of the afternoon. Gets it to Walker. The number is in favour of the Crows. Phil Thorpe gets a run at it through his hands. Gathers. Handballs it straight to Jack Steele. He must have called for it. Handball it to me, Riley. Curtin knocks it forward. The ball's in dispute. Somehow St Kilda look like they're going to get away with this. Wilkie's quick kick. It's just a dump one and Laird's waiting for it.
The All-Australian backman heads to half forward. Michaelani close to the attacking edge. Didn't feature in the pre-season due to a dislocated thumb, but looking good this afternoon. He's got a lead and honours it to Dawson. Didn't even have to jump, just stuck the left mid in the air. The fishing rod reels it in. And the skipper's firing everywhere early this afternoon.
Well, I was looking behind the play there as well. Looks like Tex and Wilkie were going at it sort of toe-to-toe in a bit of a wrestle. And this bloke Dawson, what a pickup he's been from Adelaide. Coming from Sydney, and he is dynamite. He's such a versatile player. But I think his most endearing feature of his game is his ability to use the ball, and should go back and nail this for the left footer.
Out on the mark, 25 out. Dawson starts on the paint of 50 and curls it on the left into the left-hand upright. Minor score. Nearly squeezed it home in front of the Riverbank stand, but not to be. Crows 7-3-45. They lead by 31. The Saints 2-2-14. 3 played second term.
Wanganeen Millerer brings it out of defence, kicks it towards Millerer and Hall, and they keep it in the end. Looked like it went out over the boundary line. It will get there via hand now. We'll have a throw in outer side of the ground here at Adelaide Oval. The Crows leading by 31 points early in this second quarter on ABC Sport. It's great to have you with us around the country. Boundary throw-in on the logo of the wing over the top of O'Brien and Boyd. Rankin tries to ride the tackle, got the handball away. Ball's in dispute. Peatling's working hard, but St Kilda gathers it through Windhager to Wilson to Hall. And they've got some run. Higgins, he's already got a goal, and he feigned to have a shot on goal, and Marshall led into the space and takes the mark. 40 metres out, lowers the eyes, and some good hard run from Wanganeen Millerer, who marks 35 metres out on a 45-degree angle.
I'm going to have to go back and have a look at the first quarter again, but I reckon that's almost the first time they've been able to use their hands out of stoppage without pressure from Adelaide and resulting in a shot on goal. And when there's speed on the ball, particularly coming off your back half and out of your back half, if the forwards have space to lead into and work the angles, it's really difficult to defend, as the Adelaide defenders found on that occasion.
So to get this second quarter off to a good start for St Kilda, work their way back into the game. Wanganeen Millerer unloads. He liked it straight away. Fist pump for St Kilda and Wanganeen Millerer. He gets the first of the second quarter. St Kilda go to 3-2-20. Adelaide 7-3-45, 5 minutes in.
Just the ability, Jack Higgins, to sell that. But like you said, Josh, it is the first time they've had a clean look inside 50. That's what happens when you use quick hands, forward ball as well. Just ability to catch Adelaide Crows' defence offline.
Yeah, and it just doesn't matter who's defending. When there's, as I said, when there's speed on the ball and there's space to work into, if you get some decent delivery, it is actually impossible to defend. And that's probably the only thing I reckon at the moment from Adelaide's perspective. We haven't quite seen it yet. We need a bit more of a profile in this quarter. But as soon as they release the pressure on St Kilda, it just potentially gives them a sniff, as we saw against, I think it was the Richmond-Carlton game on Friday night. So they've got to keep pressure around the ball.
Never say never in footy. Crows by 25, St Kilda back on the board. Out of the middle, Peatling gets an up and under, literally straight up and down. Would have been higher than the roof. O'Brien waiting underneath it, knocked it to Crouch. Tackle late on Sinclair, who didn't have the footy. Free kick to the Saints. On the 45 to left half forward. Placed it well. The searching kick to Burns. Too far out to score.
Well, Boyd's on.
Heading to the northern end. Didn't honour him. Burns heads towards the pocket. Charging out, Marshall couldn't take it. Front and square, Higgins missed the handball to McRae, and it rolls over the boundary line, 25 out. On the text line, Gary in Canberra says the Saints would do better if they concentrated on footy instead of wasting trivial resources on terrible crest redesigns. Not a big fan of marketing, Gary in Canberra.
Boundary throw in. Gathered there by McRae, gets it all the way back to Windhager, who sold some candy, went for it twice, blows past Crouch but kicks an underground ball, bounces off the shins of Marshall, who then lays a heavy tackle, and Miller is going to be happy to see that go out over the boundary line. We'll do it again, left forward pocket.
Just a wasted opportunity there from St Kilda. Just probably should have had that. I'm not sure who it was.
Windhager,
was it? Sheriff. I reckon his first opportunity, should have had a crack at it, but tried to take the Adelaide defender on and paid the price. Needed more out of that play.
Marshall throws a boot at it, gathered by Wilson, tackled by Scholl. He dropped it as he sort of went to kick it, but the tackle didn't hold. Ball ends up in the hands of the Crows, and Keys kicks it out to space. St Kilda has the numbers, but that was an awful bounce. Clever, though, from Webster to Wanganeen Miller, who kicks it out towards Wood. Goes out of bounds, right half forward flank, and we'll have a throw in. Adelaide lead it by 25 points.
Wanganeen Miller has had a couple of howlers, I reckon. Only running at 50% kicking efficiency this quarter. I saw that first one when he exited, a little bit too cute, and on that occasion should have found the target inside 50.
Not the audition he might be after. The two South Australian clubs have come calling. He's out of contract. Adelaide by 25, and the boundary throw-in won't go much further forward as it's knocked back over the line.
So he's had 8 kicks at 25%, and he is a good kick. Just needs to start hitting his targets and getting a little bit of confidence with foot.
It's probably the perceived pressure that he's under as well, because he's trying to do it all for St Kilda.
Yep.
And that's just what happens. You try and gain metre and you just whack it on the boot.
Toss back in, Marshall down, nearly picked off by Peatling. Extracted by McRae to Wilson, the check side, well across the face. Didn't have the line at all from 40 out. And it's out on the full. Free kick Adelaide. 25-point lead at the moment. 8 minutes into the second term. And the short kick inbound wasn't 15 from Keane. Laird forced to run over the boundary line with Higgins in pursuit, so it'll now be tossed in.
I was just saying, a much better look around the contest for St Kilda this quarter. They've been able to get a few flicks by handballs.
Yeah.
Just can't really get anything going, but better than the first quarter.
Boundary throw in. Marshall lets that hit the ground. McRae tried to knock it forward, ended up just with Miller. Quick hands from Rankin to Crouch. Solly goes on the move, and good chase down by Wilson. He's having a good quarter so far, but Tex wraps up his direct opponent there on the wing. That was tough on Harry Boyd. A couple of Norwood boys.
Welcome to the big time.
Straight back into the ruck, Boyd. O'Brien knocked it down. Ends up in the hands of Garcia for St Kilda. Goes inside the forward 50, just right along the paint of the boundary line, and dribbles out. We'll have a boundary throw in left forward pocket.
And to your point, Ebony, clearances this quarter 6-3 St Kilda's way. The inside 50's 4-3. Contested ball, they're leading that at the moment. So there has been a little bit of a shift in the game, and St Kilda need everything going their way. They've got to capitalise for these opportunities when they've got it ahead of the ball.
Thoughts of Josh Franco and Ebony Marinoff on ABC Sport. tossed in. O'Brien tapped it down in the Saints 50. Rankin, handball across to Laird. Didn't quite hit his target. McRae picks it off. Now Garcia tries to shrug Crouch and he's dacked for his trouble. Still got it to Sinclair though. Tumbling handball. Paul's spun in the washing machine. Gets it to Wood. Back to Sinclair. 2-metre kick and crunched.
Oh.
Murray just dives in with a big tackle. Bullocks over Caminiti and we'll get a ball up top of the goal square for the Saints. Still down 25. Getting their hands on the footy, but Adelaide just swarming them every single time. Rankin gathers this time is caught high. No call. The tackle of Max Hall and the clearing kick off hands will go over the boundary line to be tossed in. So Adelaide do get out of the defensive 50, but it is going to be a boundary throw-in.
Definitely a shift, though, isn't there? You can see that visually. Inside 50s in favour of St Kilda this quarter, and talk about field position, time in front half, definitely St Kilda's way. So there has been a shift in momentum. They've just got to capitalise, as we said.
Boyd wins it out. Windhager, quick kick. That one goes out of bounds on the full. Way to the left.
And St Kilda here, they've got to either number off or force Adelaide to kick long down the line and lock it in their front half. They can't allow an easy exit on this occasion.
So Murray has it. Right back pocket. It's down the line, looking for Fogarty. Fisted away there by Cordy. Rode perfectly by Rankin. What a smooth mover he is. Just didn't use the first option. Big bump. That was tough from Fogarty. Goes again. Soccer's in the advantage of Rankin, but Sinclair read it best. Gets the handball to McRae. Swung in the 360. And Sean Makers will see that go out over the boundary line. That was a tough contest there from Big Fogarty.
I reckon dangerous as well when you start setting yourself for a bump with the bloke's head over the footy. You make contact with the head, you're in all sorts of trouble. I reckon he dodged a bullet there, Fogarty.
Just with that contest there, you almost sense that Isaac Rankin's trying to make something out of nothing. Just hit the hands first, give. Sometimes he's a bit more of that excitement machine, tries to do a little bit too much. But I think if they can get the ball in their hands, just stay calm, probably a bit better for the team.
Crows by 25. Marshall's in the ruck now. We haven't seen a lot of that today with Boyd in the side. He wins it towards Windhager. Missed the boot in the tackle and Adelaide pounce. Turnover. Here we go. Putting on the Jets is Rankin. Into the 50. Philthorpe's one out. Big Hulk just couldn't take it. Up against Callum Wilkie. Full stretch, hit his fingertips and over the boundary line. Liz Walsh downstairs.
Yeah, keeping a close eye on Wanganeen Miller down here for the Saints. He's just been walking the boundary line, chatting with a physio, now down on the mat, having a bit of a rub down on his calves by the look of it. So I'll keep an eye on him.
Boundary throw in. Walker got the gather. Rankin running through. Laser tackle. Brad Hill under pressure for St Kilda. Ball in dispute. Sinclair gathered. Squib kick to Windhager. Dawson lays the tackle and holds it in. And we'll have a ball up 40 metres out. Just around to the right-hand side of the goal for the Crows. They lead it by 25 points. Dawson in there. 1v1 versus Windhager. McRae with a high ball dump kick. Worrell got Wood under the footy. Gets it back to Murray. Rolls around on his left foot. Kicks it to the hot spot. Rochelle, Fogarty flies. Rochelle's at the bottom, does a spin, kicks it over his head. That was special from Rochelle. That's his second. And a trademark celebration and an important goal for Adelaide. They get one back in this second quarter. They go to 8-3, 51. St Kilda 3-2, 20.
He's on fire. And that was super special from Josh Rochelle because he actually stayed down. He let Darcy Fogarty fly for the ball, and as a small forward, just stayed for that crumb. I think sometimes small forwards can kind of fly, but just tend to stay at the ground. Just previous from the goal from Jack Higgins. That's what small forwards are there to do. Stay at the feet of the tools, and that is an excellent finish.
Unbelievable finish, wasn't it, Emily? And you talk about the difference in talent forward of the ball for both teams. Someone like a Rochelle, a Rankin, they can make something out of nothing. That's where St Kilda struggled in the early parts of this second quarter. They did have field position. They were inside 50. They couldn't capitalise. Adelaide go down. Magic from Rochelle and picks a miraculous goal.
Crows by 31 in the middle. Philthorpe wins it down. McRae with the fumble. Puts his head over the footy. Cops a bump from Saligo for his troubles. Ball ricochets towards Scholl. Weaves inboard. Threads the handball off to Philthorpe. Low spearing kick to Neil Bullen. He can release Saligo. Marches into the 50. Barged over by Wanganeen Miller, but got his kick away. Fogarty back at the flight. Couldn't get it on the right side of the paint, and it will be out on the full. Free kick in the right back pocket to the Saints. Down 31. Now looking for an exit across the goal face. They go. Kick from Schoenmaker to Wanganeen Miller. Tried to play on and now has to find the fancy footwork and breaks the ankles of Michael Annie. Curtin it was in the end. Did very well. And kicks up to half back to Wilson.
Wilson in the middle of the ground. Dangerous ball to Garcia and Miller. Met it at the contest. Handball to Rochelle, the goal kicker from just before. Handball's over the top. They're working their way towards the 50. Taken high there. They get a play on here. They take the advantage, Adelaide. Can be risky move. Handball towards Fogarty at the top of the goal square. Rochelle goes again. He's got some support in Peatling. He's inside the 50. He's got time to unload from 50. But pulls it away to the left. Minus score. So Adelaide pressuring here in the second part of this second quarter. They go to 8-3-51. St Kilda 3-2-20 here on ABC Sport. That's a 31-point margin.
Mixed bag on the text line. Bill says the Crows still need to clean up a lot of the areas to match it with the best, whilst Derek says Googling September flights to Melbourne. So at the moment, I think they'd be pretty happy. Up by 32. Saints get the exit towards the eastern side. Thilthorpe gets front position on Marshall. Cuts it off. Back where it came from. Kick into the 50. And in the hole is Schoenmaker. Fogarty just couldn't get a run at it. Looks to switch through defensive 50 to Wilkie. On the bounce. Hands it across. Tucking under one arm. Burns. Squeezes it down the line. But Murray's waiting at centre wing. Saints struggling to get it forward.
Yeah, they just look indecisive coming out of their back 50. You saw Wanganeen Malira the same, and on that occasion just don't want to kick long. They're looking for the short option all the time.
Murray booms it to the 50. Wanganeen Miller with the fist only found Scholl tied in the right forward pocket to Neil Bullen. Part of the C's squeezed a kick through straight to Taylor Walker. Neil Bullen, the ultimate assist playmaker, finds the general of the Crows. Taylor Walker gets a set shot, 45-degree angle to the right, 30 metres out.
If you're always looking to go short coming out of your D50 and looking for the perfect play, if the pressure's good, which it has been from Adelaide for the majority of this first half, it's really difficult to hit targets. And if you miss them, you turn the ball over. It comes back with interest, and Tex, he won't miss this one.
Walker crosses the paint of 50 in game 279. And it's the same result we've known for so many seasons. Taylor Walker deadly off the right. And the Crows up by 38. 9-4-58 to 3-2-20 as we approach time on in the second term. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans alongside Tom Wilson, Josh Franco and Ebony Marinoff.
Oh, Alex Neil-Bullen, isn't he a class act? He's brought in so much leadership and just an all-round great guy to the football club. It's always good to have guys who just bring in that energy and just crafty. I think times last year you probably see that Adelaide forward line just blaze away and kick it back inside. But Alex Neil-Bullen's ability to hit Taylor Walker, and Josh, I thought you were going to give him the commentator's curse, but finished well and truly. Tex Walker did.
Yeah, I mentioned in the first quarter, Fogarty's a beautiful kick. Walker's equally as accurate and penetrating with his foot.
And Boyd's going to get the clearance here for St Kilda. Goes by hand to Steele. Pumps it towards Wood, who flew at that one. Just ran under it at the last moment. Michael Annie's got some hot pursuit there from Higgins. The small forwards putting on that forward pressure. The handball does spill out to Laird, who gets it to Cumming on his left boot. Three Crows are going to raffle it here. Peatling over to Keys. Dribbles a ball looking for Saligo and Walker. Saligo goes again. He's got the support from Neil Bullen. Running on the logo. Space for Fogarty. Marks 40 metres out. Rochelle leads for him in the middle of the ground, but he's going to take his time as he should. It's a 45-degree angle for Darcy Fogarty, lining up for number 3.
Ebony, you talked about Neil Bullen. He's been outstanding. Started the game where he's had 9 disposals. I thought on that occasion it could have kept running and carrying, but identified that Fogarty had space ahead of the ball and ahead of his direct opponent, and was just a beautifully weighted kick. And I'll put the mockers on text, but he should go back and nail this as well.
You did
the best kicks in the AFL.
You did it to Dawson before when he hit the post, so could it be 2 out of 3? Fogarty unloads. He likes it. He's got 3 now, Darcy Fogarty. This Crows forward line is firing, and they've got 3 in a row in this second quarter. They go to 10-4-64. St Kilda 3-2-20. Nearing time on here in the second quarter at Adelaide Oval.
It all started with Jake Saligo's half volley, clean ball take. I mean, Jake Saligo came runner-up in the best and fairest last year. He's in for a big season. But that's just what happens when you're clean. His ability to give the hands out to Alex Neil-Bullen. He could have probably run 30 metres himself, but hit Darcy Fogarty, and he's never going to miss. Josh, you've said it again, but he would have to be one of the best kicks at goal, if not the best in the competition. Leading goal kicker last year, and he looks set to have another big year as well.
One of the best 41 goals, and back it up.
What they do as well, when you need them to nail them in the big sort of pressure games, those guys that can just nail it, just relieve all that pressure.
Adelaide by 44. O'Brien to Saligo. Here they come again. Links up with Crouch. Saligo on the left, straight up the spine. Wanganeen Miller flies across. Cuts it off at centre-half back.
Matt Crouch, 17 disposals. How was he ever left out of this side?
Didn't even play the entirety of last season and still averaged 30 touches. Wanganeen Miller at a Webster. Up the broadcast wing. Headed in the Caminiti direction. Knocked away from him, and the Saints give it away. Hall's handball picked off. Neil-Bullen turns through the square. Didn't have a lot of options. Tackled, and a very late whistle. Walker was turning to go, and it seemed holding the ball all the way back at Neil-Bullen. Caminiti to receive the free kick while Steele and Tex get stuck into each other. There's two hard heads.
He's been a bit antsy today. Tex, he was fighting with Wilkie about 10 minutes ago. Now he's into Steele.
Caminiti sends it into the left forward pocket and straight to Worrell. That'll draw the Bronx cheers. And Walker lets Steele know all about it as well in the middle of the ground. Adelaide with the footy. They're up 44. Still 6 to play in this second term on ABC Sport.
Hicks down the line looking for O'Brien. That one's fisted out over the boundary line. Just forward of centre wing in the interchange gates. It's really building the crowd nicely at the northern end. Under the scoreboard there. Standing room only. Word's got around. It's a hot start for Adelaide, up by 44 points in the second quarter. Into time on now. O'Brien and Boyd go at it. All the way out the back to Dawson. His handball ends up in the hands of Steele. Back to Sinclair. Short ball, just too much on it in the end there from Marshall, but it's going to be marked over the back by Hall. What a hot start. It's been one of the shining lights, certainly, for St Kilda, providing opportunities in their forward 50.
That was a terrific mark, wasn't it? They haven't really looked dangerous aerially ahead of the ball this afternoon, St Kilda, but on that occasion was it Sinclair, I think, that kicked the ball inside forward 50. Beautifully weighted, but you had to execute the mark with all sorts of pressure from the Adelaide defender. Outstanding catch.
So he marked about 35 metres out in a slight angle away to the right. In comes Hall, lining up for number 2. Set sail for home. The goal umpire does not move. Important one there for St Kilda. A second for Hall. They go to 4-2-26. Adelaide 10-4-64. We're 23 minutes gone in the second quarter. And it's Liz Walsh on the boundary.
We've got Lockie Scholl down here for the Crows on the doctor's bench at the moment. He's just having his right knee re-strapped. Should be good to go soon.
Great story for Max Hall. So out of Box Hill, gets his crack at the Saints. Cashing in at the moment so far with 2 early this afternoon. Borgs is a bit depressed on the text line. Says, can you please stop talking about Alex Neil-Bullen? I'm a very sad Demons fan that he's now gone. The premiership player, obviously, for them. And Jono in Q says, wowee, the Crows' effort and intensity around the ball is too good at the moment. Midfield rotations are varied and strong. They have flexed their muscles a little bit in this opening half. Still plenty of footy to come. It's a long season as well. Essendon next week. If you start looking ahead, Crows fans. Boyd in the middle, taps it to Windhager. Here come the Saints again. Steele towards the 50. The skipper hasn't touched it a lot this afternoon. Tries to place it in the lap of Caminiti, knocked away. And Worrell's set upon by Jones in game 150. Ball up to come just outside the paint for the Saints. They're down 38 at the moment. Tossed in the air. O'Brien down, only found Steele. Arched the back. Saligo kept chasing and got him. Hands it to Boyd. He's brought down by Crouch. Shoots out to Windhager. Errant kick off a couple of steps, and it's out on the full in front of the scoreboard. Free kick Adelaide. They lead 10-4-64 to 4-2-26.
Dangerous move there from Keane, taking on the man on the mark, but worked out well. Kicks down the line. That one's marked by Dawson. He can do everything. The Crows skipper. Great in the air. And we know he's great by foot. Unloads on that left side. Up towards left half forward. Fogarty gets it to Keys. Quick hands to Crouch. Chucks it on his right boot. Is the required journey. And it's intercepted at centre half back by Darcy Wilson. Handballs it off to Hasty. He kicks long towards centre half forward. Over the top of Murray, but he's got some support from Worrell. 1-2 with Laird to Hinge. Just the crowd jeered there because he had pressure from behind that he wouldn't have seen, and it forced him to kick towards the boundary line. And we'll have a throw in. Left half forward for St Kilda. They trail by 38 points. 25 minutes gone second quarter here on ABC Sport.
Also on the text line, Chelsea Randall's got in touch, our very own on ABC Sport. Shout out to her, who's enjoying the call on the way to her Sandford trial game. Congratulations to Chelsea and MJ as well, Mariana Rajcic. Their wedding during the week. Tossed into play. Dawson hands it to Neil Bull and then Peatling, and now Rankin. Here come the Crows out of the stoppage, arching the back. Rochelle pushed as he kicked it. Manages to swing inboard to half forward, a little wide for Walker. Wanganeen Milleray hands it to Wilkie. Now Schoenmaker over the top to Hasty. Drills it down the line, a bullet pass to McRae, who wants to settle things down and then immediately plays on. Hands it to Wilson. The Saints up towards the 50. Outnumbered 2 against 3. The Crows with the advantage, and they win out at the back. Worrell links up with Keane, and across the goal face, it was a dangerous low dart. Hinge with the Superman dive pulls it in at the top of the defensive goal square.
He kicks towards O'Brien. He could raffle it with Murray. He won out in the end. Right half back. So a 38-point margin. Kicks towards the logo. Running at that is Dawson. He just ran straight underneath it. Peatling looked like he caught one high from Windhager. Play on, says the umpire. Sinclair kicks it forward towards Boyd. He was held without it for a moment. The umpire saw it, so he'll get the free kick.
I think that one was there, Tom.
Yep. 60 metres out from goal, Boyd. Goes to Sinclair. Marks on the 50.
Have a go at it.
Just pops it up, looking for Caminiti, and there's just so many Crows players there. In order to get it out over the boundary line, we'll have a throw-in.
Well, the other thing there too, Tom, looking at the flags on top of the scoreboard, he's got about a 2-goal breeze to the northern end. He should have just rolled around and had a ping at it instead of a really nothing kick.
Crows by 38, tossed in Saints 50. Marshall front position, tapped it straight down the throat of McRae, hands it to Jones, and Hinge with a desperate smother. Ricochets to Peatling, looks for an exit, just bangs it to left half back. Bubbling away in front of the Wanganeen stand. Keys is beaten. Wilson can gather, hooks it around the body where it came from. Caminiti came late, couldn't control it. Laird at the back door, combines with Keane, and off a step. Heads back towards left half back. Nice fly. Dan Curtin took a seat over the top of a couple of Saints. Clunks the mark. We've been wondering where he was going to play, whether it's midfield forward or now down back, and we've seen him across defence this afternoon. There's an issue forward of the ball. So Dawson's got stuck into Windhager, I reckon, and has put him down. It's a free kick to St Kilda now, when it would have been Adelaide's ball. They can head inside 50, kick towards Marshall, knocked down. Adelaide have numbers front and square. Tackle laid though on Worrell. Left the footy behind. Bobbles its way to Sinclair. Can hand it to Wilson. Snap from 30. Wide right. Another miss for St Kilda. 4-3-27. They trail Adelaide 10-4-64 as we close in on half-time. Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
So Adelaide move it quickly. Worrell's got it left half back. Outer side of the ground here at Adelaide Oval. Looking for Curtin, 2 bites to the cherry. Grabs the mark. Nice little moment for the young gun. Goes inboard to Hinge. So St Kilda set up well behind the ball. Late in this second quarter. Hinge. Got the movement going. Perfect pass to Keys.
That was a sensational kick, wasn't it? That travelled 50 metres, pinpoint. Just inside the boundary line, outstanding kick.
Keys goes inside the forward 50 now. Looking for the skipper. Dawson goes with the one hand. Waiting at the back. Under pressure there was Sean Makers for St Kilda. His handball puts his teammate under pressure. Peatling at the bottom of the pack. It's grabbed. We'll have a ball up Umpire says, give it to me. Left half forward for Adelaide. They lead by 37 points.
Boyd in the ruck against Walker. Adelaide's 50 and Taylor Walker just panicked, wrapped up the McGarry medalist, pushed him out of the ball drop, and it's a free kick to St Kilda. What have you made of Harry Boyd so far, Josh?
I think he's actually been okay. I was a little bit worried early, but I reckon he's battled pretty hard in the ruck contest, and at the moment the hit-outs are 25-21 Adelaide's way, so it's pretty serviceable.
Mature Ager at 27. He hands it to Wanganeen Miller through the eastern wing. The Saints look to move the footy. Players converge close to the logo. Ball rolls its way to Laird. Hands it to O'Brien for the Crows under a bit of pressure from Caminiti. Had to release it. Worrell now puts his head over the ball. And just to get it back to Crouch. Flung it on the boot and it lands in the lap of Neil Bullen. Not a lot of options forward. Has to play on and arc towards the attacking edge. Neil Bullen drives it to Dawson. Nearly juggled the mark. Paddles it back in the end off the ground to Rochelle. Dropped it in the tackle. Almost tried to ask for the free kick, but he put the footy down, and that'll do us for a half of footy. Crows fans won't be happy with how it ended, but they will be very overjoyed by the margin. 37 points Adelaide lead at the major break. 10-4-64 to the Saints 4-3-27. Goal scorers for the home side, 3 to Fogarty, 2 to Thilthorpe. Singles to Cumming, Walker, Dawson, Rochelle and Crouch. For the Saints, 2 to Hall on debut, and Wanganeen Miller and Jack Higgins are on the scoreboard as well. The text line 0437 774 774 if you want to get in touch across the day. We've still got the D's and the Giants to come at the G, and the Eagles and the Suns at Perth Stadium. Mark, Liz and their 2 dogs in Denmark have got in touch. They're driving across the Nullarbor listening on the ABC Listen Up. Shout out to you. Hope you're enjoying the trip. It is a good fun ride, albeit a very long one. Hope Mark and Liz and the 2 dogs are taking care of themselves. 0437 774 774. Update in the Sheffield Shield as well. We know South Australia is locked in to host the final at Karen Moulton Oval. Who they'll play, it's down to a couple of contenders. Currently they're hosting Queensland Day 2 action just after the lunch break. SA 5 for 523, which is almost an ominous sign of what could happen in the final. All they need to do is get it through the 5 days, and at the moment they're doing that. WA's 1 for 18 in response to Victoria's 197, and Tassie at Stumps 7 for 309 against New South Wales, yet to get underway on day 2 there. Josh Franco, Ebony Marinoff, your experts this afternoon. They've got 8 All-Australian Blazers between them. I won't say who, but I mean it balances out in the end. A couple of premierships as well, best and fairest. Great to have them this afternoon. Noffy, what have you seen so far in the opening half?
I think it was a hot start to the Adelaide Footy Club. St Kilda were able to get their hands on it a little bit more in that second quarter. It was an interesting one. I was just looking at the stats, and I've kind of been watching Jack McRae. Seems to have been looking like he's sharking some of Riley O'Brien's taps. They've actually won the clearance, St Kilda 25 to Adelaide 21. But in terms of the depth, Jack McRae's had 14 contested possessions, but against Adelaide Crows, you've had Crouchy with 6, Isaac Rankin with 8, and Jake Seligo with 10. So a little bit more even spread, because the next best is Winghanger with 9. So I think just the ability to share the load Adelaide in the first half has been evident, and their ability to share the load and get clean looks inside 50 is just St Kilda, with their ball movement and Adelaide's pressure, just haven't been able to find any synergy.
The spread of ball winners is pretty wild, Josh. So Crouch 19, Laird 18, Rankin 16, Seligo 16, Dawson 12. In comparison to the Saints, who've got McRae on 20, the next best. Wanganeen Miller with 16, not playing in the midfield though. Their next best midfielder is Eb Setters, Windhager with 12. So Adelaide definitely sharing the load, as Noffy touched on.
Look, I reckon putting a bit of context around that, we've mentioned it throughout this first half, is Adelaide are using their hands a lot around the stoppages and the scramble situation, which probably does inflate some of these guys' numbers, but their handball has been absolutely electric, and we mentioned it in the first quarter where St Kilda really struggled to put any sort of pressure on Adelaide in terms of affecting their disposal efficiency, but Adelaide have been outstanding. They look sharp. I mentioned it at quarter time where they're looking to use the ball and maintain possession and have a bit of composure in the back half, but the moment they sense and sniff out they can get some speed on the ball, if they can get that and they're moving the ball quickly, they look really dangerous ahead of the footy. So I've been nothing but impressed with Adelaide. I reckon there was probably, wobbly isn't quite the word to use, but there was probably a patch in early in that second quarter where St Kilda started to swing momentum in their favour, but other than probably that 10 minutes, the first 10 minutes of that second quarter, it's been all Adelaide, and they have looked impressive. And, you go back to Peatling, Cumming, Neil Bullen, they just look better on paper. And you talk about midfield depth. All of a sudden, Peatling can go in there. I don't think Peatling's had a massive game. He's had the 11 disposals, but he's been serviceable. But it allows you to rotate more players through then, as Ebony said, and that's only an advantage for Adelaide moving forward. So, Rankin, you've also got someone like a Rochelle that can pinch it in there. So their midfield mix looks really dominant at the moment. And again, when you talk about statistics, and if you're looking at McRae, I must admit, and maybe I've got to go back and watch the game again, but he's had 20 disposals, but he's a player, and I know it's been talked about a lot over his journey in the AFL. I'm just not sure he has the impact that they would like to get out of him, as opposed to someone like a Matt Crouch who, and I know I mentioned in that second quarter that the fact he was left out of the side a couple of years ago is absolutely staggering, but his influence around the ball, he's had 6 kicks, 14 handballs. He is unbelievable and almost like he's getting better and better with age.
Well, Jack McRae's a 20 for 102 metres gained.
Yeah.
So that just tells the story of that metres gained. I mean, Matt Crouch has had 154, but he's got the fast feet of Isaac Rankin and Jake Saligo, Jordan Dawson, those metres gained.
Yep.
And he's a fantastic inside player. He knows plays his role. Even if it's a handball back, he's creating opportunities for Adelaide to open up, put speed on the ball off the half-back. I mean, Josh Worrell's had 15 and Mitch Hinge has had 14 off the half-back. And Nick Murray's been really good and strong in the air, creating contests as well. So we're going to talk about the even spread of that first half, but it's can they sustain that?
Wild odd afternoon for Jack McRae as well. So 20 touches in game, 250, and 249 of them were with the Western Bulldogs. So the Saints will probably cheer him off at the end of the day in what is his debut for their club, but still he's a veteran of the competition. He's three-time All-Australian Premiership player as well. So it can still be damaging. Just a weird scenario to be in today.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I think you absolutely nailed it, Ebony. With Matt Crouch, and you look at metres gained, you said 102 compared to 154 McRae v Crouch, but what Crouch he's got around him now with, Saligo, you've got Rankin, and Peatling in the mix, as we said, all of a sudden his stuff, good stuff, gets amplified because of what happens with the ball post-clearance.
It's totally depth. And you look at Brisbane yesterday in the grand final rematch, Lockie Neal's tagged for 10 touches, didn't hurt him. Levi and Will combined for, 46 touches, and Josh Dunkley has 27, and again, they've got options. And Adelaide, after so many years, seem to finally have that. Early doors, they've got plenty of bigger and tougher teams to come, but up by 37 points at the half so far. St Kilda would hope they can still find a way back into this game. Great to have you with us for Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans, Tom Wilson, Josh Franco, Ebony Marinoff and Liz Walsh with you for the call on the text line 0437 774 774. Jim from Hobart says, "Go Crows, loving the game so far." Joe's driving from Albany to Perth to watch the Eagles this afternoon and is hoping they put on a better show than Carlton did on Thursday night. The Blues are copping a lot of drive-bys today, but maybe rightfully so. We'll get through some of your more of your texts in a moment's time, but the second half coming up very shortly. We'll get a preview later today as well from Melbourne and GWS at the MCG. But for now, wherever you're listening on ABC Radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app, we can get the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. Victorian fire authorities are welcoming rain as they continue to fight a bushfire that's destroyed one home and significantly damaged another in Melbourne's outer east. They say 25 people were forced to evacuate their homes and seek refuge at a local relief centre overnight as more than 200 firefighters battled the blaze at the Dr. Ken Laversha Reserve in Montrose. Yarra Ranges Mayor Jim Childs says he's confident the community will rally together.
We've just got to be patient with this recovery piece. Let the emergency services do what they have to do on the ground, and we'll recover this with such resilient communities out here in the Yarra Ranges.
Meanwhile, South Australia's Country Fire Service crews are battling a number of fires reported in the Riverland region. A fire grounds on the Murray River National Park north of Luxton. A separate fire is also producing smoke at nearby Book-Purnong Road. Meanwhile, crews are also battling an out-of-control scrub fire south of Lucindale in the state's southeast. New South Wales Ambulance has received more than 7,000 000 calls over the past 2 days. Chief Superintendent Steve Vaughan says the heatwave affecting parts of the state has seen an increase in calls of about 13% compared to the same time last year. He says a further 3.5 calls are expected today as temperatures in parts of the state nudge 40 degrees.
Some of the key signs to look out for that will indicate a medical emergency, things like muscle twitching, loss of consciousness, profuse sweating, high body temperature, even confusion, vomiting. If you experience any of those symptoms, you need to dial 000 immediately.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia's purposely delaying signing up to a US-brokered ceasefire deal. Mr. Zelensky says Vladimir Putin is lying about the terms of the truce and the situation on the front lines. He's denied claims repeated by US President Donald Trump that Ukrainian troops are surrounded in Russia's Kursk region. Mr. Zelensky says the claim is Russian disinformation.
Українська сторона The Ukrainian side has a presence in the Kursk region. The encirclement of the Ukrainian military is a Putin lie. There is no encirclement of our military in the Kursk region. What kind of signals are coming from the Russian side?
American officials have told Reuters strikes against Iranian-backed Houthis in Yemen could continue for a number of days or even weeks. US President Donald Trump says Houthi attacks on shipping in the Red Sea need to stop or, quote, hell will rain down upon you. Firas Maksad is managing director for the Middle East at the Eurasia Group, which advises businesses on political risk. He says Donald Trump wants to negotiate with Iran from a position of strength, but he's also sending a message to American voters.
Very much underscoring that the Biden administration was unable to deal effectively with the Houthi threat to shipping in the Red Sea. There's a new sheriff in town. There's a new way of doing business. He will be much tougher than his predecessor was.
Journalists at Voice of America and other US government radio news services have been placed on indefinite paid leave. It comes a day after US President Donald Trump signed an executive order to reduce the functions of the Agency for Global Media to the minimum required by law. The services impacted include Radio Free Europe and Asia, as well as Radio Marti, which broadcasts Spanish-language news into Cuba. Founded in 1942 to counter Nazi propaganda, Voice of America reaches 350 million people a week in nearly 50 languages. There are reports up to 26 people have been killed and scores of homes destroyed by tornadoes in the Midwest and southeast of the United States. Authorities say more than 24 tornadoes have been reported. Most of the deaths have been in the state of Missouri. These people say the storms have caused widespread damage.
We had several vehicles, tractor trailers that were damaged, the roof to our storage building. We've lost all of our food. All of the stuff that's in the freezers and refrigerators.
It looks pretty extensive. The roof's blown off of it. Everything around it here is really bad. The trailer park up the street had fatalities.
Investigations are continuing after a man in his 20s fell into the Brisbane River earlier this morning and failed to resurface. The incident occurred at Jindalee. Another man in his 20s was taken to hospital in a stable condition with shoulder injuries. He entered the water to try to assist the man. And a teenage boy is in hospital after he was seriously injured in a crash and alleged assault in Sydney South. Police say the 17-year-old took himself to hospital yesterday after being involved in a crash at Sylvania, where 2 damaged vehicles were found. An 18-year-old man has been charged with offences, including dangerous driving.
The World Test Championship is coming.
He gets connection here, lifts it over the keeper, one bounce for 4.
Australia versus South Africa.
And he nicks it, he's got him again.
Catch every ball on the ABC Listen app. This is the 2025 AFL Premiership season on ABC Sport.
So to get this second quarter off to a good start for St Kilda, work their way back into the game. Wanganeen Miller unloads. He liked it straight away. Fist pump for St Kilda and Wanganeen Miller. He gets the first of the second quarter. Fogarty flies. Rochelli's at the bottom, does a spin, kicks it over his head. That was special from Rochelli. That's his second.
Tied in the right forward pocket to Neil Bullen. Part of the seas. Squeezed a kick through. Straight to Taylor Walker. Walker crosses the paint of 50 in game 279. And it's the same result we've known for so many seasons.
Space for Fogarty. Marks 40 metres out. Could it be 2 out of 3? Fogarty unloads. He likes it. He's got 3 now, Darcy Fogarty. This Crows forward line is firing. Back to Sinclair. Short ball, just too much on it. In the end there from Marshall, but it's going to be marked over the back by Hall. In comes Hall, lining up for number 2. Set sail for home. The goal umpire does not move.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the AFL.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
It has been the dream start for the Adelaide Crows and their supporter base, who have had some frustrating campaigns under the Matthew Nicks era, but maybe 2025 could be their season. Very early days, but up 27 against the Saints in their first hit out of the season. 10-4-64 to St Kilda's 4-3-27. Great to have you with us for the first of 3 games this Sunday on ABC Sport. Coming up next, we'll take you to the MCG for Melbourne and GWS. Expected to be very wet and humid there as part of the Formula 1 today. Across town, looking forward to how that all plays out. The starting grid, which I reckon is around 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Front row lockout for McLaren. Lando Norris followed by the Aussie Oscar Piastri, who was 0.08 of a second behind him. So very good look for the McLarens, who tops the timings in practice and have backed that up in the first race of the season so far. Max Verstappen right behind them alongside George Russell, and Jack Doohan, the other Australian, in 14th. So that all gets underway later today, but we'll give you updates through our coverage. Also, after the game at the G, we'll take you to Perth Stadium for West Coast and Gold Coast from 5:45 Eastern Daylight Time. Clint Wilden, Akash Fodera, Peter Bell, our new recruit, alongside Shane Woden for that call. So 3 games coming your way. You can hear it all, every game through season 2025, live and ad-free during play on the ABC Listen app. Aaron Bryans and Tom Wilson calling the action for you today, alongside Ebony Marinoff, Josh Franco and Liz Walsh. The text line, if you do want to get in touch, 0437 774 774. Jane says, Aaron, why can't we get the Sheffield Shield on free-to-air? We might have some good news about that for you, Jane, in the coming days regarding ABC Sport and our coverage of what the final could be looking like. Sarge says, hi team, as a rusted on Saints man, I can't help but think we are going nowhere. We are constantly being outmuscled and outplayed by bigger and better teams. I did want to touch on this, Josh. Ross Lyon's a very smart man. He knows how to pick and place his words. And during the week, a lot of the messaging was, look, before Harry Boyd, we were the 3rd youngest side heading into this season. So it's going to be a little bit about planning for the future and not so much a rebuild, but getting some fresh faces in. The 23 they put out there this afternoon compared to the Adelaide Crows are older and more experienced. It's only a tiny bit, but I know they haven't got Butler, they haven't got King, no Mitch Owens, no Filippo. There's a pretty significant injury list, but you can't argue that in the balance of things it's an inexperienced side, because Adelaide are younger and less experienced, and they feel like they are further ahead in terms of their development right now.
Yeah, look, you know what I reckon, as a supporter, I reckon the one thing you don't want to hear from your coach is injuries and we're too young. So in other words, excuses and trying to, I guess, set the season up so that if you don't get the success that you're looking for, there's an out. I reckon you just can't go down that path. And I reckon St Kilda supporters will be sick of hearing it. This is Ross Lyon's third year here. I can potentially get it if you come in, you clean it out, you've got young guys coming through, but in the end, a coach doesn't need to do that because there's that much analysis. All the commentators, all the footy analysts know that you've got a young side. So I must admit, Ross, look, don't go down that path, because I reckon the St Kilda supporters are sick of hearing about it. And this goes for any club. They don't want to hear coaches make an excuse for performance.
And it's not that he's been terrible. So elimination final in his first year, 12th last season, and still around the same amount of wins. So he hasn't fallen off a cliff. But the list profile isn't exactly what I guess they're chasing when you look at adding Jack McRae, but some of the names that they lost in the build-up to this season doesn't really balance it out. Like they delisted Patton, who's now at the Swans. Seb Ross isn't there. Tim Membry's at Collingwood. Brad Crouch has been retired. Battle's at the Hawks. So there are a couple of big names that, through their own doing or through trades, aren't at this team anymore.
The thing, I guess, when I look through both lists and the computer in front of us, and you look at St Kilda's midfield, McRae, you've got Steele, Sinclair will go through there, and you line up with a Crouch and there's a Dawson will spend a bit of time. The midfield for St Kilda is actually pretty handy. I mean, McRae's, we talk about the impact that he can have on games just through accumulation of touches. Steele's an absolute, star of the game as well. But look, I don't know. I guess I just keep going back to the fact that No one wants to hear we're too young. Because you know what, I've been at clubs where they keep promoting that and you just get sick of hearing it.
You could read between the lines during the week. Yeah. Ross's presser was essentially, look, I don't think we're going to win this one.
100%.
And that was, clearly the messaging that we're just a little bit too young. But the reality is they're older. So they are still young in the grand scheme of things. They're the 5th youngest side overall from their list. But the 23 this afternoon, average age is 26. Average games played 95, and the Crows are 25 and 92 in comparison. So a little bit younger, a little bit less experienced, but they're currently leading 27 points, Adelaide over St Kilda. 10-4, 64 to 4-3, 27. Aaron Bryans, Tom Wilson, Josh Franco and Ebony Marinoff with you for the call. In the NRL, a couple of games today still to come, which you can hear on the ABC Listen app. The Eels and the West Tigers and the Bulldogs and the Titans. Also in the A-League, Auckland host Central Coast. Newcastle play Western United and Sydney FC host Wellington Phoenix. So still plenty of sport to come across the country, whatever your code is. The ABC Listen app is your home of sport. 0437 774 774 is the text line. Annie says, the fact is regarding the Saints, there are a lot of injuries. And I don't actually mind hearing it from the coach. Sometimes the media coach bash for something to talk about and ignore the facts. I don't like
every
this,
time
Annie.
there's injuries.
Yeah, I'm not sure that whether it is you got the coaching, you got the playing group, and it's got to be this perfect combination. And I think there's a few little issues with St Kilda that might ball over this year.
Yeah, I agree. And I reckon I saw the cracks appear when they played Port Adelaide, albeit a trial game a couple of weeks ago. They were horrific.
Even the hit out against Carlton, Ross wasn't happy with either. So still another half of footy to come. The Saints can make amends in the City of Churches. They're down 27 against Adelaide. Third quarter underway on ABC Sport.
Boyd up against O'Brien. O'Brien knocks that down. It's going to be a free kick pulled out of this one, going the way of Adelaide. I think everyone's a bit unawares as to what it was for. Rankin's going to get met from behind. That was a dangerous hospital ball from O'Brien.
Just didn't see it, did he?
He had to be his eyes there, Josh.
He did, and he wasn't.
Wilson winning that, holding the ball free, pumps it in long. Early inside 50 for St Kilda. Well roved by Miller. A clean. His handball to Murray was hot. Wood on the left foot had a great opportunity there and then ripped the head off of Keane. Gives away a free kick. Scrappy start in this third quarter.
I reckon that's a really poor decision from the umpire. That was a classic. Jack Ginnivan lifted the arm. Almost should have been paid holding the ball against Keane there.
He'll happily take it. Passes to Rory Laird. Disposal 19 incoming. We'll keep you watching that, Josh. If he hits 27 this afternoon, he will pass Andrew McLeod in second at the Crows for most disposals. Down the broadcast wing they go. Saligo to Rochelle. Thrusts a handball through centre half back. Worrell now goes for a run. Up the corridor. His kick a little wayward. Almost a wobbler that was low to Burns. Dacked again. The Crows have had some low tackles this afternoon. Makes it work. Up to Garcia. The Saints now advance. Looking for Higgins. Rolling ball a little wide of him. Keane does well using the body on Caminiti and forces it over the line. Left forward pocket in front of the Riverbank stand end. The right-hand side of your radio dial for Saints fans. Down 27 in the third.
Once again, St Kilda, just poor execution inside forward 50. They did have space, just needed a little bit more vision. Had Marshall running towards goal on the open side of the ground. Missed him and forced a boundary throw in.
Umpire throws it in. O'Brien, Caminiti. O'Brien knocks it towards McRae, who runs around on his left foot, kicks in board, can't quite find the target. Fisted away by Michael Annie, roved by Rankin, gets it to Scholl. His kick out of defence works. Not paid the mark to Dawson. Looked like he had all of that. So St Kilda go back inside the forward 50. Wanganeen Miller up towards goal. I think that was touched on the line. Keane worked his way back there, but the umpires are going to confer. It was between the big sticks. Waiting for the soft call here. Watching the replay, looks like Keane's got a fair portion of his left hand on that footy. We're assuming before the line.
Goal umpire's in a good position as well.
Review complete. Look at this angle, we can see the ball is touched before crossing the back to the line.
So decision confirmed there, minus score to start this third term. So St Kilda go to 4-4-28. Adelaide are 10-4-64. 3 minutes into this third quarter. Round one, Adelaide versus St Kilda at Adelaide Oval.
Great to have you with us on ABC Sport. Keane plays on out of the defensive goal square. Check the kick that works. Juggling mark from Peatling. Defensive edge close to the broadcast side. Up and under as he chips it towards Murray, close to the boundary line, then hands it off to Worrell. Had Jones in his path. He loops it through to Rochelle, then Laird, and now Millerer wheels through the logo. Bullet pass to Saligo. Again, the clean ball movement of Adelaide. Saligo points long. Thrusts it towards the top of the goal square. Thilthorpe gets a run. Fogarty at the front. Spills down to Neil Bullen. Big jumper tug. The crowd rises as one, and it's not paid. Tackle from Burns. Holds up Fogarty, 5 out. The northern end would erupt if they were down, or at least the margin was close. But with a 36-point lead, I think they're okay.
Got to pay that one. Well and truly.
Yeah, that's a mare from the umpire.
Oh.
So ball up left forward pocket.
Of course.
Couple of tackles, and this one's a free kick to St Kilda.
Have found today a little bit. The umpires actually let the ball go. They're not letting it, I guess, pop around. They're letting the balls tussle at it. So that's one to watch for umpires this year, because they've been hot on a few things this year.
Not many free kicks, you're right, Ebony, in terms of those ball in dispute. Ball comes out of defence for St Kilda. McRae's going to run onto it. He's brought his own footy today. Handballs it back to Marshall, to Jones. McRae again on that left foot up towards Wood, centre wing. He's going to go in board. It's got to be perfect. It was. Sinclair, Wanganeen Miller as he goes to dodge Millerer, drop the footy. Ends up in the hands of Caminiti. Wood goes to the top of the goal square. Wilson's in the best spot. Was it touched? If it's not touched, it's bounced its way through for a goal. So the goal umpire says no review this time. And Wilson gets the first goal of the third quarter for St Kilda. They go to 5-4-34. Adelaide 10-4-64.
That all started with Mason Woods here. Nick Murray has to check him so he doesn't get involved again. He's been a little bit quiet. Looks to have been playing a little bit more half forward. But his ability to keep running and get the hands on the ball. Nick Murray, as a defender, you've got to make that harder for Mason Wood.
And it's a little bit of risk the reward, isn't it? That kick from Mason Wood back almost into the corridor. It's a dangerous position if St Kilda have the ball turned over there, because it does normally come back with interest. But if you can hit that kick, change the angle of the kick, and then work to the next contest off the back of that, then you do create scoring opportunities, as St Kilda did on that occasion.
So Wood got the goal. It was Wilson who shepherded it through, went through his hands. So a major to Wood.
Saints chipping away at the deficit, down to 30 points now. Crowd's a little restless. They've been on top all afternoon. Wouldn't want to leave the door ajar. Marshall in the ruck up against O'Brien. Both rucks collapse on the ball drop. Saligo becomes the tackler. We'll get a ball up.
So these clearances become really important to get field position.
Tossed into the air by Matthew Nichols. O'Brien with the double tap down. Barging through Rochelle. Spun in the tackle but got it to Neil Bullen. Saligo hands it forward. Turning. Coming. Runs to 45. Coming. Going. Isaac's got 2 on debut. And the Crows back up by 36 with the instant response. 11-4-70 to 5-4-34. 6 played, third term, Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Your experts, Josh Franco and Ebony Marinoff.
Well, he's been solid today. Question marks over his pre-season and how he'd hold up and what impact would he have. That kind of reminded me of Paul Seedsman back in the day, just the wingman that sliced and diced and was able to hit the scoreboard. Jake Saligo involved again. But that long handball they've been using today, when they've been able to get it out, they've been able to get really good, clean looks at goal. And the St Kilda are so high up the ground that the forward 50's open.
And what I will say as well, Josh Rochelle, take about his ability to absorb the pressure and the tackle and then dispose of it by hand to advantage, set up that goal there to Cummings. That was outstanding from Rochelle. He's been terrific today, actually, in terms of his impact on the game.
So a quick response for Adelaide. Ball up in the middle of the ground. Perfect hit out to Crouch, who gets it to Saligo. He kicks around on his left foot, beats, clean bowls everyone. Thilthorpe coming out from full forward, hands it off to Peatling. Back-to-back goals for the Crows. Back-to-back goals for their recruits. They go to 12-4-76. St Kilda 5-4-34. It's all of a sudden a 42-point margin 8 minutes into this third term.
Almost seems like Adelaide have gone, enough's enough. Let's put the foot on the throat and let's turn the heat up. And when then, as you said, the space of 30 seconds, centre bounce goal, the second in 30 seconds. It was a terrific bit of play there again from Adelaide. And as you said, Tom, the two new recruits hitting the scoreboard consecutively. Outstanding.
And outstanding by Matt Crouch. His ability to absorb that pressure at that centre bounce, feed it back to Jake Saligo, drive your legs. Taylor Walker, Darcy Fogarty come up, Riley Thilthorpe from the square. That's just the luxury that you have when you have balanced players inside and outside play.
On the text line, Dave's very happy with the Crows' performance after Adelaide United's loss. Lisa and Ellabrook worried about Fremantle as much as the Saints. Out of the middle, Saligo. Another clearance for the Crows. Walker direction, it bounces just outside the arc and paddled away over the boundary line by Schoenmaker. We'll get a boundary throw in.
Sure why Taylor Walker looked at the defender then, just lead at it, worrying about getting a tussle again.
Big year for the Texan. Taylor Walker, 34 years of age. It's game 279 for him as well. Moves into 5th for the Crows games played over Nigel Smart. Tapped down, Rankin clean at his toes, but turned into a brick wall as he bounces his way off Hasty. Ball now at the attacking arc for the Crows. There's a throw as St Kilda try to get it out. Free kick to Isaac Rankin. Decides to play on. Wheels around from 50. Isaac Rankin! Mesmerising. He's relishing the midfield minutes, but still so dangerous up front. The Crows by 48 points. 13-4-82 to the Saints 5-4-34. 9 played, third term, Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
You talk about smart footballers, Ebony, he read the conditions absolutely superbly. In that second quarter, I remember saying Sinclair should have done the same, and looking at the flags on top of the scoreboard, there is a strong breeze heading to the north, and he read it superbly, just wheeled around on his right. Almost a three-quarter kick and let the wind do the work. And you talk about the influence that this bloke can have on the game. I don't think he's been absolutely outstanding today. He's been serviceable, and that's the luxury now that Adelaide have. You've got guys like him that they don't have to be at their absolute best to impact the game, and when he does bob up, he always has an influence.
Another perfect hit out to Crouch, to Saligo. They've done that 3 times in a row, 3 straight centre clearances. Curtin dropped the mark at centre half forward. Burns kicks it out towards the space. Foot race on between Cumming and Jones. Just turns inside. He's got some support from Peatling, who pumps it inside the forward 50 to the dangerous spot. There's some Crows roving around. St Kilda under pressure. Thilthorpe wrapped up. And the whistle comes just in time. They'll have a ball up 10 metres out, directly in front of the Crows' goal. They're pressing hard. Already had 3 in 3 minutes. Walker knocks it down to Rankin. Can he kick his second of the quarter? Just pulled it away to the left on the snap. Doesn't often miss those. There is bread and butter. Adelaide 13-5-83. St Kilda 5-4-34. 11 minutes gone, and we've got a down the field free kick.
I think it was Higgins, Tom. Higgins? He got put down behind the play. No, sorry, it looks like Boyd. I beg your pardon.
So the Saints get some territory, and it's much needed. Through the eastern wing. Zach Jones is the target for Schoenmaker. Gets it at his toes and pops back up into the pocket. Higgins rises. Fist comes from Michael Lanny, and it rolls over the boundary line, 25 out in the left forward pocket.
I had to put my glasses on. They couldn't be too further apart physiques of players. But yeah, it was Boyd that got put down, hence the 50.
Same haircut.
Yeah, true.
We'll give it to you.
Yep.
Tossed into play. Saints attacking 50. A rare forte forward. Tapped down by O'Brien. Only found Garcia. Tried to pull the kick and only found Rankin. Not sure it was 15, but they'll give it to him. Cross defensive 50. Spearing pass. Hits Keane. Market handball off to Worrell. Adelaide starting to rise. Speed lifting. Kick was a little wide for Keys, did well to keep it in, and then tunnels it through with a tumbler to Hinge. Big don't argue on Garcia. Off to Michaelani, into the 50. Neil Bullen's the target, couldn't reel it in. Spills down. Thilthorpe left it for Neil Bullen, who toes it through. This new Crow has earned his wings. Alex Neil Bullen on the board at the Adelaide Oval. The Premiership demon could be the answer for the Crows' heartbreak. Adelaide's up by 55 in the third. 14,589 to 5,434. 13 played. Sunday footy on ABC Sport with Josh Franco and Ebony Marinoff.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super impressive. And Michael Annie, he's been doing that in the pre-season. They've given him the licence to come and run off the half-back, and he was get 2 handball receives there. But Riley Philthorpe's ability to bring that to ground, and Alex Neil-Bullen, wow, the boys love him, and you could sense that with everyone just whacking their hands. But his experience, we'll probably speak about it in a few more weeks, but will be so crucial.
Liz Walsh on the boundary.
Yeah, we might see St Kilda about to pull their sub here. Hunter Clark's up and about, sort of moving around, getting himself warmed up. Actually, as we speak, he's taking off his training top. I'll check in with the club to see who's being subbed out.
Adelaide, another clearance. Dawson this time kicks it to the top of the goal. So it's sailing through. That was from 60 from the skipper. That's his second as well. Adelaide are on fire. They've kicked 5 in about 8 minutes. Just from the clearance, burst out of the centre, and that just sailed. Adelaide 15-5-95, St Kilda 5-4-34, halfway through the third term.
Well, I tell you what, Adelaide are now flexing their muscles, aren't they? They saw glimpses of it about 5 or 10 minutes ago where they started to get on top in terms of centre bounce, and now they're really starting to turn the screws on St Kilda, hitting the scoreboard, and ominous signs here again for Adelaide, and the way they move the ball. Admittedly, St Kilda aren't defending Adelaide's ball movement all that well, but the way they move the ball and when they get speed on it, and when you've got a guy like Dawson, as we've already spoken about, that can penetrate the game with his foot, that was unbelievable.
61 points the Crows lead. The Saints searching for answers. Tap down to Saligo, again to Crouch, who fell backwards and still got the handball off to Dawson. They can do nothing wrong. Brad Hill buffets Scholl close to the benches, and the Saints win out finally. Drills the pass to Wood at right half forward. Too far out to score. Hasn't had plenty of touches today, Mason Wood. Looks central to Wanganeen Miller. Here's someone who finds plenty of the ball. Wanganeen Miller searching for Marshall, but too low and wide, and the big man can't get there.
And that's where I reckon Harry Boyd has been manful all game, but it's now time to get Marshall in. Their centre bounce clearances has caught a 6-zip, and Adelaide have kicked 2 centre bounce goals, so absolutely destroying St Kilda in the middle of the ground.
Toss back in. O'Brien down, only found Steele, quick snap, they need one. It's curling towards the top of the goal square. Back with the flight, the fist from Worrell. Higgins, good tackle as he runs down Keane, tries to extract the footy, dives on top of it, big pylon. Ball up close to the behind post, left-hand side. At the Riverbank stand end for the Saints, searching for a goal. Tossed up, O'Brien down, straight to Steele again, this time with a bit of space, hooks it around the body and totally across the face of goal, never a chance. Bounces over the boundary line, the only relief is it will be tossed into play. The Crows by 61, and Annie on the text line says, are there any good St Kilda players?
No, not at the moment.
McRae's had plenty of the footy, but not as damaging. Wanganeen Miller has been inaccurate, 33%. So there are players touching it. They're just not doing a lot with it, Annie. O'Brien down. Laird to Dawson, gets the exit for the Crows.
And when the Crows decide to go, they just can't slow them down. St Kilda, like this.
Look at him go. Walker handballs to Keys. He's got time. Decides to kick towards Rochelle, who's got space. It's an empty goal square. Unloads from 50. Josh Rochelle. Oh, just away to the left. Just away to the left. Minus score. That lasso play that Josh Franco was talking about. 15-6-96. St Kilda 5-4-34. They've brought it back in very quickly. St Kilda gets it to Wilson on the wing. Goes short to Marshall. It's Caminiti, in fact, on the outer side of the ground. As he assesses his options. Pumps it up towards left half forward. There's Marshall. Michaelani with the fish. Scholl tackled by Wanganeen Miller. Ball in dispute. Walker's worked his way into defence. Zach Jones has the footy. Bursts his way through. Runs towards 50. Kicks it towards the pocket in Higgins, who marks right up on the paint of the boundary. About 30 from goal. Liz Walsh on the boundary.
Yeah, Hunter Clark is being subbed into the game. Looks like Angus Hasty is coming out as a tactical move. Also, keep an eye on the weather. We're getting a few drops of rain down here.
4 seasons in one day at the moment. So Higgins has found the scoreboard already. And he runs around on his right boot. He is excellent at this. But this one just doesn't pull around enough. misses away to the right-hand side. Minor score for St Kilda. They have 5-5-35. Adelaide 15-6-96. We've had 18 minutes gone in this third quarter.
Keane plays on, and the Irishman heads to right half-back. Rochelli's all alone there. Centres his kick to Laird. Back to Rochelli.
This is where they've been pretty patient. In this scenario here, when there's numbers behind the ball, they've actually been really patient by foot.
Rochelli places it well over the head of Cordy, but long enough to get to Crouch on centre wing. I think there was some trepidation when Matthew Nicks said Rochelli had the best pre-season he's ever seen of any player, but he has delivered. Up to right half forward, Fogarty rises and marks. Here come the Crows. Fogarty screwing the kick in the direction of Keys, and he pulls it in back at the flight.
Wow, that was unreal.
What vision from Big Fog. And Ben Keys happy to take the delivery. Slight angle to the left, 25 out.
I think, as I said, the feature of Adelaide's game today is they're at times when they've got numbers in front of them and in front of the ball in terms of in their in their forward half, they've been quite patient, looking to find a mark by foot, but when they've wanted to go and get speed on the ball, so they've had a really nice mix.
Keys with the stutter step, doesn't hurt his shot as he drills it through the big sticks and joins the party. Their 10th goal kicker of the afternoon for the Crows, and they're up by 67. 16-6, 102 to 5-5-35. Time on in the third. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Liz Walsh downstairs.
Very exciting moment down here for Crows fans. Sid Draper has just taken off his training top. He got a really rousing applause down here. He's just sitting on the bench now, waiting to be subbed into the game.
Well, I'll tell you what, when he is electrifying in terms of his speed. Look out, St Kilda. Your nightmare's about to get worse, I reckon.
He's a powerful player for a young guy, and you'd hear it up here in the commentary box. Proud. Just when he's doing his warm-ups there, and he's stretching down in front of the interchange gates now, so look out to see who he comes into the game for. But Adelaide, they are in total cruise control here in round one against St Kilda. Peatling versus McRae. McRae won the free kick holding on. So the margin 68 points. 6-1 in this third quarter. There's still plenty of time left. O'Brien works his way to the front of the contest for Adelaide. Handball from Neil Bullen to Curtin, put him under pressure, so he went the 1-2. Neil Bullen kicks towards Thilthorpe. Knocked over the head by Cordy. Play on, says the umpire. Sinclair was taken high there by Crouch. And he plays on quickly. Just in front of the interchange gates for St Kilda, inside the forward 50, a wrestling match between O'Brien and Boyd. And here it is, Sid Draper, the prize pick for Adelaide, is onto the field in his debut for the first time.
What a roar as well for pick 4 from South Adelaide. The Crows are going to be cautious with his development, but what we've seen on the limited minutes has been damaging and deadly. Tossed in and he's straight into the stoppage. O'Brien taps it down. Windhager through. Dawson wraps him up and lifts him into the air. Good little belly-to-belly suplex. Garcia gathers on the volley, hooks it around the body. Keane was sitting back as the goalkeeper and actually fumbled it through. Could have taken the uncontested mark in the end. Crows by 66 now. Liz Walsh downstairs.
Talk about the young and the old down here. So Sid Draper's come into the game. Taylor Walker has been subbed out.
See also, fellas, one player I've just been watching for the last, because I actually forgot he was out there. He looks absolutely disinterested, is Bradley Hill. 2 disposals for the game. Something's not right there.
Sid Draper, first touch in AFL footy. Left half back for Adelaide. Goes by foot, looking for Thilthorpe. Gets out over the back. Waiting there is Boyd. Gets it to Wanganeen Miller, who sells some nice candy there on Neil Bullen. Kicks down the line, but it was read perfectly by Jordan Dawson, who takes the intercept mark. Defensive side of centre wing.
Leading out Miller, defensive edge, and Draper's popped into the hole for another touch. Takes the mark ahead of Brad Hill, who has had a miserable afternoon. Called to play on. Draper thumps it towards left half forward. Thilthorpe presents, paddled it down to Fogarty, hands it past to Curtin. Another rising star, centres the kick towards Shoal. Fist came in. Hunter Clark for the Saints on as well. He gave it away. Fogarty off a step. Too powerful as he absolutely launched it towards the hill. And in the end, out on the full. Free kick, St Kilda down 66. Still plenty of time left in this third term. So Hasty off for the Saints with Clark on, and Walker off for the Crows for Sid Draper.
You sense there may be a direction from the coaching box at Adelaide to centre up the ball inside 50. Dan Curtin, they've done it a couple of times today. They've just looked to centre the ball, not cut from the boundary side.
Hinge goes inside the forward 50 towards Fogarty. Rankin keeps it in, and then probably happy to let it go out in the end, so we'll have a boundary throw in.
Well, interesting too, Ebony, when Curtin was lining up for goal, was running inside forward 50, I was thinking it should just have a shot.
You can see his eyes darting to the right-hand side.
That's a good pickup.
The boundary throw in, 35 metres around from Adelaide's goal. Fogarty doing the work with Walker now subbed out. Brad Hill with the clearance, snaps around the body straight to Hinge, who got one over the head from Wood for his troubles. Centres the ball back to Keane, who's almost in the centre of Adelaide Oval. He rolls around on his right foot, kicking long to a contest, and Wanganeen Miller at red at best takes an intercept mark. So Adelaide, they're leading by 66 points. 24 minutes gone in the third quarter on ABC Sport.
Disposal 21 for Wanganeen Miller. One of the few Saints who found plenty of the footy this afternoon. Heads to the broadcast wing. Good body work from Wood. Freed up Hill. Couple of bounces for the Premiership Hawk. Drills it tight on the boundary line. He flirted with the paint, kept it in, but sliding across, Garcia couldn't take the mark. And off hands, it rolls over the boundary line.
Well, after the spray I gave Brad Hill about 3 minutes ago, he doubled his possessions. He's now up to 4.
He's heard you out the window, Josh.
He must have.
Adelaide by 66. And still 6 minutes to go in the third. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Phil Thorpe down. Only found McRae. Wasn't expecting it. Couldn't control the footy and then tackles Draper. In St Kilda's 50 at the moment. Ball up to come. Still to come, the D's and the Giants. We'll get a preview shortly with Matt Clinch. What is a very wet Melbourne. West Coast and Gold Coast to wrap up round 1 in Perth. Thilthorpe down, looking for Saligo, tries to keep it in play, mowed down by McRae, just wanted to get to the line. Boundary throw in to come. On the text line, Matt's loving the call on the bullet train from Osaka to Tokyo. Big Crows fan. Matt, you may pick the right time for a holiday. If Adelaide have a very good season, you might be back
come on,
for something special. Don't want to get ahead of myself. A couple of our listeners are saying the Saints are the under-8 Saints this afternoon and not to worry too much about this win, Crows fans. I don't know. You take the 4 points when you can get them.
Draper.
Well done, Draper.
Did extremely well. Stepped in and out and got the handball clean. And the clearance and ends up with Fogarty. He goes back to Rory Laird. So Laird, this will be possession number 23's just going about his business across half-back. Got an all-Australian jacket in that position. He goes up towards Cumming, who marks defensive side of centre wing. Takes his time now, pumps it long to left half forward. Got a run at it was Dawson, just shuffled under it by Wilkie with the hands. Under pressure, Schoenmaker's holding the footy. Fogarty plays on the left foot. Rochelli's running back. Just had too much on it in the end. So it goes over for a minor score off hands of Rochelli. Adelaide 16-7, 103. St Kilda 5-6-36. We've had 26 and a half minutes gone in this third quarter.
Schoenmaker to Webster in the left back pocket. Dangerous low ball that was just the required 15 to Wilkie. Had 2 to beat. Did well, the All-Australian defender. Very overcast now here in Adelaide. Still quite warm though. Wilkie down the line. Waits it. Finds Hall. He's looked good on debut. One of 3 this afternoon with Liam O'Connell down back, and also alongside, I've completely forgotten who the other debutant is. It'll come back to me. Give me a second.
Hall and Boyd.
That's it, Harry Boyd. He's had a pretty all right afternoon as well. Throwing the ruck, but
yeah.
Saints move it to the broadcast wing. Caminiti heads long, looking for Clark. Pushed out of the contest. Hits the deck. Free kick to Adelaide. Isaac Cumming, the recipient. 2 goals for him. His first go for the Crows. Shares it with another former Giant in Peatling. Sweeping handball to Dawson. You could hear the thump in front of the benches as he launches it to the 50, and Rochelli just caught behind Wilkie. Too tough a task. St Kilda get the turnover and look to switch it to the eastern side. Down 67.
Well played there by Wilkie, just read it best. That's why he's an All-Australian defender. Sinclair goes short. It was a dangerous ball. Worrell read it best, got the fist in there. Sinclair dives on top of it. Manages to get the ball out in the end. They're going to get the clearance here, St Kilda, but the kick is a squib kick. Falls in the hands of Saligo. Rochelle dropped a sitter. Rolls around on his right boot, looking for the target. What a grab there from Rankin. So skillful. That was a flat, floating ball. Got his hands behind it, takes the mark 20 metres out, slight angle.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not sure he was going for Rankin then.
He had a
and
shot.
He may very well, looking at the replay on the big screen at the moment, but it looked like he was having a crack at goal, but luck's a fortune, and I guess you create your own. Oh, no, looking fair enough. He has lowered his eyes, and he did see Rankin there, but anyway, good bit of play either way from Adelaide.
So Rankin lining up for goal number 2 of the afternoon. Chips it straight over the goal umpire's hat. He's got his second. A dominant quarter for Adelaide. That's 7 in a row. 17-7, 109. St Kilda 5-6, 36, 29 minutes gone.
I'm assuming, I must admit, I missed when Liz was talking about Tex coming off. There's no injury concern there, is there? Or?
No, you almost sense from reading Scott Pendlebury last night, there was a little bit of conversation about a month ago, whether that's the case or, I mean, he's always going to be able to create opportunities for these young players, and I think the leadership through Riley Thilthorpe, Darcy Fogarty will be unmatched throughout the year, but it's an interesting one, and we didn't really get much. We might be able to go down with her, see if she sees ice or something.
Can you guys hear me? No, Taylor Walker looks absolutely fine. This is a tactical move. He is up on the benches, chatting with all the players, giving everyone high fives as they come and sit down on the bench in front of him.
73-point lead to the Crows. Still a quarter to come.
I guess Matthew Nix and the staff are pretty confident the margin is insurmountable for St Kilda, so they pulled the trigger on it.
Essendon and North the next fortnight as well for the Crows, so it shapes up as an interesting month to kickstart their season. Tap down, McRae rolls it. Tried to find Clark, who becomes the tackler on Crouch. Ron's not happy on the text line, says, why has St Kilda been so poor for so many years? They played finals in 2 of the last 5, but it has been a good 15 years since they've been probably a legitimate contender. That's fair to say.
Yep.
So, yeah, it has been, a mediocre run. They haven't been terrible, but it isn't the best start this year. McRae gets the free kick in the middle and goes long for the Saints. Driving it into the 50. Garcia got front position, couldn't control it. Marshall tries to rip it out. Left the footy behind. Wood just barges through. Mason Wood with the snap. 25 out. He's got 2 for the afternoon. And the Saints answer back as we close in on 3-quarter time. Margin down to 67. The Saints move to 6-6-42. The Crows 17-7, 109. Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
Just looking at Mason Wood, we've spoken about him a little bit in this quarter. I think he's been instrumental. He's kicked 2 in this 3rd quarter, but again, it's just a much belated goal there for St Kilda. The sting has really gone out of this contest. Adelaide are completely dominant. But I guess from St Kilda's perspective, they still got to keep playing the brand of football that they want to play, because they can't let this margin blow out any more than it currently is, because been there and done it, but potentially if you absolutely get slaughtered, it can really put a sour note to start your season, and it can actually really set it up for a poor season moving forward.
Back in the middle of the ground, O'Brien just takes it out, slings it across his boot, looking for Thilthorpe. Fisted out of defence. Webster's got it for St Kilda. Chips it over the top. They could have raffled it, and they did in the end. Clark gets it on. Kick down the line towards right half forward. Murray all over the top of the goal kicker in Wood, but that's a clever handball over the top. Hall towards Wilson, up in the pocket, sells some candy. Back to Wood. Handballs over the top to Marshall. He's near the goal square and just worried out of it by Keane. And that goes over the boundary line. We'll have a throw in. I know he's been a bit underdone coming into this pre-season, Marshall, but it's been a tough afternoon for him in that forward line. Adelaide lead by 67 points late in this 3rd quarter.
I think the tackle, was it Draper? See that at all? I think it was Draper. It was an outstanding tackle. Got stepped initially, but then able to hold on to the tackle and cause the boundary throw-in.
And Brian wins the tap down, but only found Steele to Hill. Heads for home. And Brad Hill gets another for the Saints. Back-to-back to close out the 3rd term. Not a lot of celebration amongst them, but the margin down to 61 points now. 7-6-48 to the Crows. 17-7, 109. Doesn't get any easier for them either. So Geelong next week for the Saints. Then they've got Richmond, Port and Hawthorn in gather rounds. So they can get past the Cats, who just won by 78 yesterday at home, then maybe they can restart their season. But it is a tough task. Geelong looked very impressive yesterday. The Crows continue to move along. 61 points their lead at the moment. 17-7, 109 to 7-6-48 Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
That's 2 red time goals over the past couple of minutes. You'd be disappointed with that if you were Crows fans. Got a little bit tighter. Stoppage there. James Peatling just... Brad Hill let slide into the back of stoppage. I mean, Josh, you've given him the commentator's curse. He's had 2 touches and he's been busy in this third.
Another clearance to St Kilda. McRae lowers the eyes, hits the target. A purple patch here for St Kilda. It's too little too late, but certainly taking some momentum into three-quarter time. Wood marks 35 metres out directly in front.
And I guess going back to Adelaide as well, they've still got a quarter of footy to go. The game's done and dusted, you would imagine. But they've really got to keep the foot on the throat here and build some confidence for the rest of the season. They can't let this game just peter out and keep the margin at sort of 50 to 60 points. They've really got to keep playing the brand that we've seen them get in the position they're in currently.
So Wood lining up late in this third quarter for number 3. Just away to the right-hand side, minus score. So the let off there for Adelaide. They go to 7-7-49, a clean 60-point margin, a long quarter, 34 minutes gone.
Lethal Matthews, goal a minute. Saints still in it. You never know. 10 goals at the moment. Adelaide exit to the broadcast.
They got plenty of time, Aaron.
Plenty of time. Still a quarter to play. Players converge on the drop. Towed out of there by Peatling as it rolls through centre wing. Wilkie's out to meet it. Racing off half back. And launches it back to half forward for the Saints. Adelaide set up though. And Worrell cuts it off with the intercept mark. Down the line he heads. Broadcast western side. In front of the Bradman stand. Hits Curtin. Playing down back this afternoon in the direction of Dawson. A little bit too hot for him. Keys front and square. Kick smothered by Sinclair. Looks for a late one for the Saints. Sinclair takes a bounce. Up to right half forward. Directed to Marshall. There's a whistle downfield. As Steele was disposed of. It'll go to Marshall. Tossed back by Draper. Chips it to the attacking edge to McRae. Took the mark. Hasn't played on. Wants to wind up and have a crack. It was never a chance off a couple of steps and cut off by Keane. That'll get us to three-quarter time. Adelaide leading by 60 points here at the Adelaide Oval. 17-7, 109 to St Kilda's 7-7, 49. Goal scorers for the Crows, 3 to Fogarty, 2 to Thilthorpe, Dawson and Cumming. Singles to Neil Bullen, Peatling, Rankin, Walker, Crouch and Keys. Sid Draper's on for Taylor Walker. No injury there, but the youngster getting a crack in his first game for the Crows. For the Saints, all individual... Higgins, Wangani, Miller and Hill. There are multiple goal scorers, 2 to Wood and Max Hall as well. Still to come, Melbourne and GWS at the MCG. Sounds like it's going to be a wet affair there. And West Coast and Gold Coast at Perth Stadium to wrap up round 1. We'll get a preview of it all next on ABC Radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app. This is Sunday Footy on ABC Sport.
Get ABC AFL Daily Podcast with Premiership coach Paul Roos. Alongside Corbin Middlemass, Ben Cameron and Poppy Penny. ABC AFL Daily Podcast. It's your daily footy conversation. Find it on the ABC Listen app. This is the 2025 AFL Premiership season on ABC Sport.
Wood goes to the top of the goal square. Wilson's in the best spot. Was it touched? If it's not touched, it's bounced its way through for a goal.
Saligo hands it forward, turning, coming, runs to 45, coming, going. Isaac's got 2 on debut.
Thilthorpe coming out from full forward, hands it off to Peatling. Back-to-back goals for the Crows. Back-to-back goals for their recruits.
Decides to play on, wheels around from 50. Isaac Rankin. Mesmerising. Neil Bullen's the target, couldn't reel it in. Spills down, Thilthorpe left it for Neil Bullen, who toes it through.
Dawson this time kicks it to the top of the goal square and sailing through. That was from 60 from the skipper.
Very exciting moment down here for Crows fans. Sid Draper has just taken off his training top.
And here it is. Sid Draper, the prize pick for Adelaide, is onto the field in his debut for the first time. Rolls around on his right boot, looking for the target. What a grab there from Rankin. Chips it straight over the goal umpire's hat. He's got his second.
Left the footy behind. Wood just barges through. Mason Wood with the snap, 25 out. He's got 2 for the afternoon. And Brian wins the tap down, but only found Steele to Hill. Heads for home. And Brad Hill gets another for the Saints.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the AFL.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
The Adelaide Oval is rocking this Sunday afternoon because there is belief again in the Adelaide Crows camp. They're up by 60 points. It's come at the expense of the Saints. 17-7, 109 to St Kilda's 7-7, 49. Couple of late goals there to give the Saints a little bit of hope. At least a consolation prize on what's been a rough afternoon. Aaron Bryans and Tom Wilson with you for the call alongside Josh Franco and Ebony Marinoff. Speaking of sides that started their season well, the Giants looked so good in Western Sydney last weekend. Now they're on the road. Can they back it up at a wet MCG? We're taking you to Melbourne and GWS next on ABC Sport. Ben Cameron will be part of the team alongside Bob Murphy, Brent Harvey and Matt Clinch, who can join us for a preview now. Clinchy, over to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, Aaron. As you touched on, the Giants started the season in red-hot form in opening round against the Magpies. They now are bolstered by the return of Tom Green, but they do lose ruckman Kieran Briggs. Meanwhile, for the Demons, there is a late-out Stephen May makes way, unfortunately missing this afternoon's match, and Tom McDonald comes in. 6 debutants for the Demons who failed to feature in finals last season. So the question is can they bounce back this season, or will it be a rebuilding year for the Demons? So looking forward to seeing their number 6 pick Langford, number 11 pick Lindsay, and a couple of late picks in the draft in Johnson and Henderson, who both played with Werribee, not to mention Harry Sharp, who comes across from the Brisbane Lions. So Langford will be the sub for the Demons and Max Grudeski for the Giants. As you mentioned, it's wet and cold in Melbourne today, so might be a low-scoring affair, and the fans are at the MCG all the way at the back of the stands. Can't wait to bring it to you on ABC Sport after your game, and of course I'll keep you across the Formula 1 across town.
First Grand Prix to feature in wet conditions in over a decade, so we'll keep you updated across the afternoon. Thanks to Clinchy there. We'll head to him next at the MCG for the D's and the Giants, and then we've got the Eagles and the Suns to wrap up the round at Perth Stadium. Josh Franco, Ebony Marinoff, it's been all Adelaide this afternoon. What's been the key to their turnaround to start the season?
Just their ability to pile goals on has been impressive. I think they were slow in that third quarter like we touched on. You'd like to see them just put the throat on the throttle and just make this, a really good blaze out. But what's been most impressive is their ability to use their hands. They've had 180 kicks to 150 handballs, and St Kilda being 158 kicks to 115 handballs. And I think that's been telling in the way that Adelaide have been able to slice through them out of stoppage, put some speed on the ball, and have some really clean looks in their forward half. St Kilda just need to be able to up their pressure because they can't adapt the game and get really good clean looks. But they came coming in that third quarter, so it'll be interesting to see how this game plays out.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Ebony. I think the game was really set up in that first quarter, and sort of mentioned that the pressure that Adelaide were able to apply to St Kilda, they weren't able to reciprocate it to Adelaide. And Adelaide's ability, as you said, to be able to change those little angles with hands and be able to handle their way out of congestion and then get speed on the ball and look really dangerous and efficient inside their forward 50, that really set the game up for them. The sting's gone out of it a little bit. And I reckon it was about halfway through that third quarter. It was almost like Adelaide said, enough's enough. Let's flex our muscles and show what we're really capable of. And they actually blew the game right apart. A couple of late goals to St Kilda in that quarter, which I'm sure Matthew Nicks and the staff would be really, or a little bit disappointed about, but I think the key message would be to finish the game off strongly.
It's almost felt like a domino effect. So 9 injuries for the Saints. No Butler, King, Owens, Filippo as part of that. It's meant Rowan Marshall with the pelvis injury in the pre-season's played forward. Harry Boyd's mainly been in the ruck. Bryant's had a field day. And whether it's the calibre of players that Ross has at his disposal, or whether it's the list and the game plan, there'll be some questions about St Kilda to start their season, but hasn't been their afternoon on the road. Final term underway, the Crows by 60. Boyd did win it down, but only found Draper. Straight to Dawson. Out of the middle go the Crows. Rankin pushes off. Couldn't take the mark up against Webster. And Caminiti with the diving try. Terrible attempt to sell it, but the umpire's happy to buy what he's got. Boundary throw in to come, 25 out.
Almost a knock-on. Boundary throw in now. Inside Adelaide's forward 50. Thilthorpe tries to take it out of the up against Boyd. Saligo over the top of Burns. Rode him into the ground. No free kick.
I will say as well, and credit to Matthew Nicks, to have Sid Draper first game actually inside as an inside midfielder outstanding. Generally, those players end up starting forward, have to earn their way into it. Well done, Adelaide.
Neil Bullen, he went to the top of the goal square, but it was Caminiti who's worked his way back into defence. He plays on now, kicks towards centre wing. Flying high was Wilson. He went early, probably unrealistic attempt, but he did touch the footy. Hinge shakes the tackle of Hill. Some smooth manoeuvring there from Hinge. Crouch over the top to Laird. Goes inside the forward 50. Rochelli's at the back. Philthorpe flies across. Gathers. Tries to get the handball out towards Rankin, but it was holding the footy. Just dropped out of his hands as he tried to dispose of it. And that'll be free kick St Kilda.
I think the other interesting stat as well, when you look at a side that's been so dominant as Adelaide have, you'd expect them to get out-tackled, but they've actually out-tackled St Kilda 46-40 to this point in the game.
Crows by 60. Wanganeen Miller just dinks it across the goal face to Wilkie.
We saw another missed tackle on Hinge here on centre wing as well in the previous play.
Saints heading to the northern end, the left-hand side of your radio dial. Wilkie called to play on, wants to exit out a defensive 50, heads towards the Rashudo stand, taken by Burns. Dance across the arc and then looks central to Hill. Had to be precise and is. Brad Hill, mixed bag, started poorly, picked up in the third. Had Burns riding shotgun, came to get the footy back, hands it to McRae, pushed as he kicked it into the 50. Higgins launched, O'Brien just bowls him over. Huge mismatch there, knocked it down to Draper. Another handball forward, it was treacherous. Rankin threw his body into Webster and one out. Gets it to Neil Bullen. Now Fogarty, centre half forward, unselfishly chips it. A little bit wide, bouncing footy for Rochelli, so he toes it to Saligo. Wanganeen Miller closes, back to Rochelli, snaps off a step. Showtime, Josh Rochelli. Back to his best. He's got 2 for the afternoon. Adelaide, party time. They're up by 66. 18-7, 115 to 7-7, 49. 3 minutes played in the final term. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Your experts, the reigning W medalist Ebony Marinoff, 3-time Showdown medalist Josh Franco.
Ebony, just looking at the numbers, and Josh Rochelli, I've actually been really impressed with his game. So on our stat sheet, SCI is score involvements. Now, I don't know the exact technical term or description of how that works. He's had 11. So in other words, he's touched the ball 11 times that has resulted in a goal or in a score, and the next best is 7. As we said, and what he also does, he's the X-factor forward that can kick goals out of his behind like he just did. Outstanding. If he can get his head in the game consistently, he'll be a star.
And 5 goal assists to go with that.
Yep.
So that's direct score involvement. Been super impressive. And raps on him in the pre-season, so he's come out to play.
Yeah, very switched on. Josh Rochelli, so too is Matt Crouch. Such an impressive career he's had. Been through the ups and downs in recent years, coming out right on top. Appearance is going to go this time to Darcy Wilson of St Kilda. Kicks towards the top of the 50. Marshall eased his opponent under the footy. But good support there from Nick Murray, I should say. He's able to shark it out over the boundary line. We'll have a throw-in over there in Eddie Betts' pocket. Adelaide just dominating. Huge margin, 66 points.
Tossed in front of the scoreboard. O'Brien caught behind Marshall. Barged through him to get the tap down. Only found McRae, lost his footing. Steele slides and tries to drag it in up against Draper. Forces the ball up. 45 out, Saints 50. Down 66. Marshall down to McRae. Quickly tackled by Dawson. Laird threw his body in. Clark one out, but his handball a turnover. Straight to Scholl. Now over the top. Rankin to Dawson. Caught by Burns. Still got it clear. Rolling to centre wing. Out to meet it. Cordy. Beat Neil Bullen. Again missed his target though. Adelaide happy with the gift. Rankin to Neil Bullen. Back to Isaac. 55 out. Pulls the kick. Up towards Scholl. Couldn't take it. Spills to the back. Saligo snaps from 20. And Saligo adds to the goal kickers list. Adelaide's up to 121. 19-7 plays 7-7-49. 5 played final term. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Fran from Melbourne says happy 2025 season to the SA team. Looking forward to hearing Ross Lyne's spiel after this game. The atmosphere must be great. How can you hear yourselves think? I think the downside is, Fran, that when St Kilda do score a goal, you can hear a pin drop. I almost feel a little bad for them because it is raucous when Adelaide get one. It is 95% Adelaide this afternoon, Josh.
Well, I guess the other thing as well, when I ask you guys a question, talk about Ross Lyon and how he coaches, he is defence. So this would absolutely rip his heart out watching this unfold. They've kicked, as you said, 19 goals, 7. He's noted for making game scraps and really sour affairs, but today it's been quite the opposite. They haven't been able to slow the Crows down. Their ball movement has been electric. Their hands have been outstanding, and I'll tell you what, he'd be scratching his head at the moment.
So errant ball up there in the middle of the ground. So the umpire will have it back and throws it up. O'Brien knocks it back towards Crouch. He's got Laird supporting. Back to the big ruckman. He chips it out wide. Finds Cumming on the logo. Outer wing. Got some run there from Draper, who's been busy since coming on as the sub. About 80 from goal, so he kicks it long looking for Thilthorpe. Out over the back towards Keys. He got the handball to Rochelle, who was tackled by Wanganeen Miller, but Keys was tackled without it. So he wins the free kick deep in the left forward pocket. The wrong side for a left footer, so we might get the checky from Ben Keys.
I reckon he's another player as well for Adelaide that he just needs to keep playing his role. He'll reap the rewards for, I guess, the different mix and the way they want to play, but he's a bit of X factor as well, but in a different way to a Rochelle.
Goes the drop punt, Ben Keys, and he just pulls it across the face of goal, all the way out of bounds on the full. Let's get down to the boundary with Liz Walsh.
Might be a bit of a round one casualty down here with Jake Saligo. He's just gone down into the rooms with a physio, carrying a bottle of pickle juice.
Seen a fair bit of that across the last fortnight. Out of defensive 50, the Saints look for an exit. Wilkie left back pocket, down 72. Tight on the boundary line up to centre wing. Curtin amongst a flurry of Saints. Brought it down. Draper mauled by a couple of St Kilda midfielders. Steele tries to get out of there. Hinge follows up. Tackle, forced the turnover. Draper puts on the jets and accelerates out of there. Gets it to Scholl. And a lace out to Thilthorpe. 45 from home. Tight angle to the right. Thilthorpe wants to share it as well. And he spots Rochelle. Straight in front with the fly. Rochelle looking for his second straight in front.
I reckon he gave himself the fist pump then too when he caught that. Have a look. He did. Yes. Maybe wait till you kick the goal, Josh. But again, you look at the mix and the dynamic of Adelaide's forward line. Thilthorpe, Walker, Fogarty, hard to match up on. You look at their Smalls dynamic. If they can get enough inside 50s with a bit of speed, they'll be really difficult to stop.
Dropped at the end of last year. Rochelle only has a behind on offer here. So Adelaide up by 73 points. Liz Walsh downstairs.
Jake Saligo back out from the rooms. He's got the massage gun and doing his own calves down here on the bench.
They can do it all these days, Liz. Back out of defence for St Kilda, ends up in the hands of Laird, who goes out wide, coming on his left foot. Looking for Rochelle just over the top. Lands in the hands of Wanganeen Miller. It goes the 1-2 with McRae. Takes a bounce. Bounce number 2. Kicks up the line. Finds a teammate in Wood. He's got some run with Marshall, and O'Brien did well to get back there. Marshall shrugs the tackle of Draper. Gets it off to Garcia, who dribbles one through. A snap goal on the left. That was classy. Well done there from Garcia. And he gets a goal. St Kilda, they get their 8th of the afternoon. They go to 8-7-55. Adelaide 9-8-122. 10 minutes gone, fourth quarter.
Just Rowan Marshall's ability to strap that tackle there. He's a big boy, and you'd be concerned if Josh Worrell wasn't getting that done. But classy finish, but it all started up the ground. Just with Wanganeen Milera just taking grass, running through. They haven't had a few clean looks, but when they have, they're putting their tall forwards on a one-on-one contest, and it's a lot easier to win if Adelaide Crows' defence haven't fighted back.
Must admit also, Marshall, I would have actually liked to see him play a little bit more on ball. Predominantly forward. Boyd's taken the majority of the ruck work, but I reckon they've sort of missed the mark there a little bit. Should have exposed him inside, particularly when they were so dominant in the centre bounce in that third quarter.
Crows by 67 in the final term. Melbourne and GWS coming your way next on ABC Sport. Peatling head over the footy after it's tapped down by Boyd. Garcia extracts it for the Saints. Kick just the required 15 of Clark, but he couldn't take the mark. Thrusts a handball to the broadcast wing when Neil Bullen's waiting for the Crows. Tried to get it back to Shoal. It ricocheted off his shin. Barged over the footy. O'Connell gets a kick away for the Saints. Up to half forward. Hinges there. And across defensive 50 looks for a switch. Hits up Murray. Had a text earlier from Honey who said, does Adelaide have two Murrays? They do. They're brothers. Toby was on the emergency list.
Yeah.
Not picked today. Kick was poor there from Murray. That's Nick. Only found O'Connell. Gave it off to Steele and into the 50 to Marshall on the lead. He'll get a set shot straight in front the northern end.
A good bit of play there from St Kilda, wasn't it? And we haven't seen it a lot today where they've had some sort of free-flowing handball, and that kick inside 50 was centimetre perfect to Big Marshall. As we said, I would have liked to have seen him play a little bit more on ball. He's normally a big possession winner. I think he's the only ruckman in the comp that averaged over 20 disposals for the year last year each game. He's an influential player, this guy.
Marshall trots in, leans back on the kick, starts left and never a chance of coming back. Minor score for the Saints, down 66, 8-8-56 to the Crows, 19-8-122. 12 played final term. Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
Keane's kick goes straight to Wilkie. So St Kilda, another opportunity to go back inside the forward 50.
Ooh, that was just 15, I reckon, that kick.
Right on the limit, Sinclair goes towards Wilson, who marks. 40 metres out. Left half forward flank. Tough angle. It's probably tougher than 45 degrees.
Well, I guess going back to the Marshall sort of debate as well, do you play him inside? I guess he's a better forward than Boyd. I just think St Kilda really lacked a little bit of something in the middle of the ground and have been absolutely destroyed by the Adelaide tools and smalls in the midfield.
Wilson comes in. Off the boot okay, but started to drift left with the breeze pretty quickly. So that's away to the left-hand side, minus score. St Kilda 8-9-57. Adelaide 19-8-122. I think, just the few injury concerns coming into the season with Marshall and probably not quite 100% fit, but you have to imagine Josh should be playing a lot more midfield in the ruck going forward.
Yeah.
Rory Laird exits defensive 50, disposal 27, takes him past Andrew McLeod. Second all-time at the Crows, 6,725. The kick was picked off by the Saints, but Adelaide's won a free back. Here they come through the broadcast wing. Wilkie awaiting, up against Thilthorpe, got it on the half volley, bangs it back to St Kilda's 50. Keane floated across with the arm, knocked it to the boundary line, and Caminiti fumbles it over. Ebony Marinoff.
Oh, I was just about to say that. He's matched Andrew McLeod, so you got me there, Aaron.
You're all over the numbers. What a career for Rory Laird as he continues to motor on. Two-time All-Australian. His 248th game as well, so he'll play North Melbourne at home in 250, round 3. Should he get through the next couple of weeks.
Originally a rookie.
Rory Laird,
he was. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
Hasn't he been?
Had some great rookie stories, the Crows.
Yeah.
Adelaide by 65. Tossed up left half forward for the Saints. Thilthorpe down looking for Saligo. Tackled before he reached the footy. Free kick to the young Crow. Jack Steele. An afternoon to forget. On the 45. Saligo goes inboard. Finds Scholl. Really making that wing his own. Back to defensive 50. He'll go to Worrell. Little frustration, I think, murmuring along the crowd. It's been a really fun afternoon for the home side, but it's petering away a little bit here. There's really no urgency from Adelaide to move the ball forward. Miller in game 100. Touched on it before, but took 10 years to get to this point. The first round pick after his knee and soft tissue injuries. Kicks it to the defensive edge to Michael Lanny. Looking for Laird, was a little wide. Nearly picked off in the end by Hall and rolls over the boundary line. Lisa and Ellen Brooks wondering who makes the pickle juice and what's in it.
Do they actually drink it?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Oh, you just drink it around for about 30 seconds and then spit it out.
Oh, so you don't swallow it?
Right. No.
Right.
I was getting a bit concerned the other day when I was watching the round 0. I was like,
Clearance goes the way of Rory Laird on centre wing for the boundary
gag
throw-in.
reflex on the couch. Not for you. That's what's going on.
that would be interesting.
I've heard it's more of a placebo.
Yeah.
Rather than actually drinking. But
Yeah.
anyway, who knows?
So there's a bit of discussion around ice baths as well in the placebo effect too. So all the painful things that the professional stars do to try and be at the top of their game. Meanwhile, Higgins has a flying shot at goal from 50 and dribbles it through. So that was great transition there from St Kilda out of that contest. Higgins took the mark at centre-half forward, played on quickly. He's got his second. Great effort there from Higgins. He goes to 9-9-63. Adelaide 19-8, 122. Liz Walsh on the boundary.
I'm just getting in on the pickle juice chat. So we've got a number of players on the mats at the moment, round one tired bodies, and every single one of them is holding these little cylindrical containers holding this pickle juice and spitting it out.
I guess that's more reflective on a Collingwood as well. I mean, last week everyone was hammering them for having all their cramps, and we saw it with the Bombers on Friday night. We've seen it here tonight. I reckon a fair few clubs have had a lot of cramps through the first few weeks. So maybe it wasn't just old and slow, and particularly after last night. Their thrashing of Port Adelaide. It's been a good weekend for Crows fans. If your crosstown rival gets thumped and you get a big win as well. Adelaide by 59. The Saints have had the last 4 scoring shots, though. Melbourne and GWS to come next on ABC Sport. Marshall down to Clark. It's another exit for St Kilda. Decent final quarter for them. Jones was the target, went to ground on the ball drop against Millerer. Scholl backtracking, is happy to escort it over in front of the Wanganeen stand. Aaron Bryans, Tom Wilson, Josh Franco, Ebony Marinoff with you.
You mentioned Scholl just a couple of minutes ago. He has a player that really turned the corner last year. He's actually become a really, really important player for the Crows on that wing position.
Tossed in, O'Brien. Battling with Marshall. Tapped into St Kilda's 50. There's a whistle. Non-controlling umpires saw a hold. It's going Adelaide's way to Scholl.
And he's had 17 disposals. This will be his 18th with 168 metres gained. So he's actually been influential without starring, but just playing his role superbly and getting better and better.
And the wing role's underestimated. You know, he probably spends 90% of the game time on that. And Dan Curtin and Isaac Cummings splitting, 70 to 80. It's a lot of running, and it's a lot of unrewarded running as well.
Ball goes out of the boundary. That kick from Scholl was punched out. So we've got a boundary throw in outer side of the ground. Slightly in favour of the St Kilda side of things. So O'Brien just grabs it out of the ruck and then dropped it. Garcia with the clearance goes inside the forward 50. Over the top towards Worrell. It's pressured by Higgins. Worrell again, he's want to get this over for a minor score. And Ward had him there and was escorted him over. So he's allowed to rush that through. Minor score to St Kilda. They go to 9-10-64. Adelaide 19-8, 122. That's a 58-point margin. 19 minutes gone final term.
Worrell plays on from the defensive goal square, launches it to left half back. Dawson crunches Clark, forces the spoil down to Crouch, and Dawson kept his feet, took the footy off the handball and turned straight into O'Connell, who tackles him over the boundary line. Little story for the Irish debutant as well. Ross Lyon actually played with Liam O'Connell's father, Con, in an exhibition game in 1984 during a tour to Ireland. And then obviously growing up in Western Australia, Liam O'Connell was there when Ross Lyon coached Fremantle. So you got to watch him out at Subiaco for a little bit, and now ends up playing underneath him on debut. Toss back in. Tackle late on Clark as Dawson escorts him over. Adelaide by 58 points. While we're rattling off the random little facts I prepared during the week, Josh, St Kilda have more Premiership Bulldogs in their list than the Western Bulldogs do right now.
Wow.
That's a great start.
Go.
Which is 2. Toss back into play. Tackle laid on Wilson by Miller. It's Jack McRae and Zane Cordy, for those wondering. And the only Bulldog left at the Western Bulldogs is Tom Liberatore. Or at least in their playing list right now. Johannesson's injured. Out of the stoppage. Handball to right half forward. Worrell goes to ground. Wilson clean. Handball back, though. Could have gone forward. Instead, tried to get it to Marshall, and they're under a lot of pressure. Scholl towed it straight to Caminiti. Should have been paid the mark. Certainly stopped expecting it. Fogarty tackles him, and it's a heavy landing. Adelaide win out. Worrell darting his way through traffic. through the eastern wing. Kick up towards Curtin, brought it to ground, brushes off O'Connell, kept fighting. But the Crows youngster wins out as he hands it to Dawson. Then Neil Bullen turns, spots Keys alone in the 50, and he marks unopposed 40 out. Wanted to share it with Saligo, who was begging for it in the goal square despite having Wilkie next to him. And Keys says, I think I'll just take my set shot, thank you very much. And finally gets a late option with Dawson floating across. The skipper gets a go straight in front, 45 out.
Ebony, I think even to your point that you made, again, really selfless play there from Ben Keys. Could have had a ping for goal, but looked to come inside and hit the skipper in Dawson. But that's been probably the story of their entries inside 50. They've always looked to get someone in a better position to have an easier shot on goal. Selfless play.
Jordan Dawson on the paint of 50, gives it everything, but too far left. Minor score. He's got 2 this afternoon, Jordan Dawson. And also handy 21 touches for his side. An interesting 59-point lead.
An interesting one with Jordan Dawson. Predominantly over the past 2 seasons as an inside mid, he's only had 2 contested possessions. So that just shows the balance again. He's had 6 marks, so he's flying at the football, 7 now. But yeah, it's an interesting story that his role is going to change with James Peatland coming into this midfield.
So over towards centre wing for St Kilda. Rushing the Crows back. Michael Annie under pressure, copped a real high one there from Higgins. So he wins the free kick. Michael Annie, he might be thought about reaching down for a cramp, but kicks long towards O'Brien. Coming across the front of the pack was Worrell, who fisted it down to Saligo. To Rankin, who kicks to the top of the goal square to the advantage of Fogarty, who marks on his chest. 15 metres out.
I'll tell you what, just a couple of bits of play there. Saligo front and centre. If you're a young lad looking at that marking contest, then Saligo was absolutely in perfect position to receive that crumb. And then just the kick and execution, just to kick that ball from Rankin to advantage side of Fogarty was almost just dropped it in a bin. Rankin kick there, superb.
15 metres out, slide angle. Fogarty goes the drop punt. Fogarty gets number 4 for the afternoon. And Adelaide get goal number 20. 20 goals, 9, 129. St Kilda 9-10-64. 23 minutes gone in the final term.
Jake Saligo and Isaac Rankin have predominantly been the mainstays in the midfield today. There was always going to be question marks about where would Isaac Rankin spend most of his time. He's leading all comers in contested possessions in Adelaide Crows with 16. He's going to have a big year. He probably would have made All-Australian last year if he didn't have his hamstring injury. He's hit the scoreboard. Jake Saligo's clean as ever. And right now, if you look over at the Adelaide Crows forward line, Jake Saligo and Isaac Rankin are both starting in the forward line. So we're going to talk about this flexibility, but it's going to change the game that Adelaide play this year if they can keep injury-free.
It's officially the biggest score kicked on the Saints in Ross Lyon's second stint at the helm. Biggest score St Kilda's conceded in 3 years as well. 29, 129, 65 points the Crows. Out of the middle, Keys to Dawson. Miller lost his footing but pops back up, spots O'Brien. The big man gets low. McRae wraps him up, but he still gets boot to ball. Tumbles it to the attacking edge. St Kilda have the numbers. Sinclair dancing and dodging to Jones. Running out of room, finally heads to the eastern side. And the mark taken by Hall. 3 debutants over the top. Kick towards Steele, the skipper.
Aaron, I guess you go back to that conversation we had at half-time. Is that symptomatic of a young list, or is it more? Is there more to it than just being young?
Steele into the 50. Cordy's floated forward. Couldn't mark against Hinge. Quick tackle laid. Bit of an awkward one for Worrell, who's a little bit sore on that in front of the scoreboard, but we'll get a ball up. 25 out, St Kilda's 50, right forward pocket.
I guess
might need some pickle juice for Josh Rochelle.
Yeah.
Josh Worrell, sorry.
Well, I guess what I'm saying too is that we can't. I don't want to hear Ross Lyon talk about being too young for this margin. There's more to it than that.
O'Brien knocks it down. McRae's at the fall of the ball. Peatling socketed off the deck. Went straight to Burns, who snaps around on the left foot and hits the woodwork. So that's a minus score. St Kilda 9-11-65. Adelaide 29, 129.
Josh, use the word disinterested. It becomes telling at the back end of these games. They're just the pressure and the intensity of these experienced players in Jones and Steele. It's just not at the level to inspire the young.
Yep.
There's another cramp as Jordan Dawson floats to the front of the contest and takes a clean contested mark. Just a little proppy, but he's happy to stay out there and receive the footy back from Miller. So they continue to rack up the touches in front of the Odie stand. Dawson back to defensive 50 to Worrell. And a casual kick, just a little bit too relaxed to Miller. It's picked off by McRae. St Kilda back towards forward 50. Cordy back with the flight, couldn't reel it in. Falls on top of Keane. Tries to rip the footy out of there, but Keane just won't let go. The padlock on the bill, and eventually Keane wins out to Neil Bullen. Dawson wide to Scholl, wasn't sure about the bounce and is happy to let it roll over. Adelaide by 64. Final stages here at the Adelaide Oval. Get some quick reaction before we take you to the MCG for the D's and the Giants. 42,985 in attendance to start the season in Adelaide.
We'll be all very, very happy, Aaron. This performance today had to come here and get the 4 points. They were heavy favourites, but it's the fashion that they've done it in that would make them happy. That one socket off the deck, high ball into the centre square, and Draper, right at best, takes a nice grab. Centre half back now, so he switches the play to Keys. Members side of the ground, plays on quickly. He's got some support from Michaelani. If he gets the kick right, he can get to Fogarty. He's got 4. Lowers the eyes, flat ball towards the goal square. Got Thilthorpe and Rankin up there. Rankin lays the tackle. Thilthorpe does the work and kicks his third. Big Riley Thilthorpe, after a big pre-season, helps himself to 3 for the afternoon. Adelaide 21-9-135. St Kilda 9-11-65. That's a 70-point margin late in this fourth quarter.
Just looking at the replay, I reckon one position you don't want to be in is one-on-one with Isaac Rankin. Caminini, I think it was, that actually affected the spoil. Actually did pretty well, considering it was a terrific kick inside 50 from Fogarty, but his follow-up work, and then the big bull, Riley Thilthorpe, just terrific in the contest, in the tackle, held his feet and sliced it through. Well played, Adelaide.
Well, we're pumping up the Crows fans' tyres. They've passed their 97 grand final score over the Saints. Continues to climb. I reckon it's in the top 7 now, this total. See if they can make history this afternoon. Still a couple of minutes to go. Adelaide by 70 points. The D's and the Giants to come next on ABC Sport. Banged into the middle. Boyd down. Dawson was there. Quickly tackled. Threw it on the boot. High up towards the logo. Diving across Windhager. Uses O'Connell. Thrust across from McRae. Back towards Garcia. Looping ball over the top to Steele. This is nice work from the Saints up to left half forward. But Wanganeen Miller are trust to take on too much. 3 tacklers. Ball shoots out and coughed up. Neil Bullen, though, just stopped at right half back. Didn't have a lot of options and is wrapped up. St Kilda win it back through Garcia. But Wanganeen Miller really let them down there in that chain. He gets a chance to make amends, receives the handball, bangs it in. Not sure who it was going to. In the hole, cut off by Cumming. And now Peatling can get the exit off right half back to the broadcast wing.
Goes straight to Caminiti, though, who takes the intercept mark. Goes inboard to Boyd. Now the switch is onto the outer side of the ground. Affects it to Wilkie, who finds Sinclair. It's about 65 metres out, point of the square. Flat ball inside the forward 50 and finds Cordy, who takes the mark on the chest. So he marks 35 metres out. Just easier than a 45-degree angle. Only played in defence throughout his career. Another former Western Bulldog. That lineup. Taking his time here.
The umpires held the play up for some reason. Is it blood rule or something?
Yeah, potentially. Is it Keys just come off the ground there?
They've already had to delay the game at the MCG by 10 minutes, and this is just dragging out at the moment. They're going to get you straight there. You haven't missed any action.
Cordy comes in, unloads, and that's his 21st goal in his 141st game. So Zane Cordy hits the scoreboard, playing up forward in this final quarter. So St Kilda go to 10-11-71. Adelaide 21-9-135. About a minute to go here for ABC Sport.
No, it's a little bit early, but Josh Franco, you're 3-2-1. Have you kind of got an inkling of where it will land?
Well, look, it's tough. There's a lot of good Adelaide players that have played today. It's really hard to pick, but I've got 3, I reckon. Hopefully you're on board with it, Ebony. Pressure's on early, round 1.
Well, it's going to be hard to pick,
yeah, I know.
especially within the Brownlow. You know, hard job for the umpires, that's for sure.
Well, you could throw a blanket over about 15 of the Crows
100%.
players in terms of their influence on the game in their own sort of individual way.
Crows by 64. Awkward bounce. O'Brien waits underneath it. Tap down towards Dawson. Head over the footy. Couldn't rip it out. Neither could Draper. Reckon you might need to give him to us now, Josh.
Yeah. Well, look, got Matt Crouch. Isaac Rankin's outstanding, and I think Rochelle with his 12 score involvements and 2 goals too.
Rochelle for the 3?
Yep. No, other way around.
No, Rochelle 1, Rankin 2, Crouch 3. There you go.
Crouch has been outstanding too.
Speaking of, Rankin has the ball on the broadcast wing. Kick looking for Saligo. Just knocked away by Sinclair. Head over the footy. Burns gets it to Garcia. Then Marshall. Now McRae and Schuenmaker in front of the benches for the Saints. Looked for Higgins. Copped a push from Hinge. Ball out the back door. Close towards the 50. Diving tackle laid by Hinge on top of Schuenmaker. Ball shoots out to Wood. Back to Steele, around the body into the 50 for the Saints. Wilson's underneath it, rising above Cumming, knocked down to Hall, hands it to Higgins. Tumbler hits the post on the left-hand side. Minor score for St Kilda. Margin down to 63. As the time ticks away here at the Adelaide Oval. Adelaide 21-9, 135. St Kilda 10-12, 72. Miller bangs it to the broadcast wing. Throw a blanket over him, the drop. Steele back into the 50. And Adelaide delivers a statement win to start their redemption tour. The Crows sink the Saints in the City of Churches by 63 points. To Fogarty, 3 to Thilthorpe, 2 to Rochelle and Dawson, singles to Keys, Crouch, Walker, Saligo, Rankin, Peatling, Neil Bullen and Isaac Cumming. What an afternoon it was to kickstart their campaign for Adelaide. Still 2 games to come, the Eagles and the Suns, but let's take you to the MCG now for Melbourne and GWS with Matt Clinch, Ben Cameron, Bob Murphy and Brett Harvey.